What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV. The day after the night before. I was usually say the morning after the night before, but it's very much past the morning now, 3:20 in the afternoon. Obviously, I was there last night in Norway, in BILBAO.
Hear a bit of a croak in your voice.
Yeah. Last night, I could barely speak after the game. Like, after I spoke to you, I was trying to speak to people on the plane, and I was just like, I just couldn't get any words out. Like, it was just completely gone, my voice. But what an incredible 24 hours it's been. Spurs are on their way to BILBAO. Spurs are on their way to another European final and to face Manchester United. But
happy to be back in the warmth, back in the sun.
I tell you what, yeah, they made this whole hullabaloo about how it's going to be so cold. You're not going to be able to you know. They're basically telling us like we're going into the Arctic Circle, which we were, and it was going to be so cold that we wouldn't even be able to like think or handle ourselves. I was like expecting to be in the most coldest conditions I've ever been in my life, and like during the day, the sun was out. I was walking around and I was actually hot with the way I prepared. Like literally, it was actually really nice. Crisp air,
the beer probably
air.
warmed you up, I would say.
Yeah, maybe. To be fair, I was like 4 beers down by the time I even landed in Norway, so maybe that had a part to play in it. But by the time the night came, as soon as the game started, it started peltering it down. There was no cover on the away end, so by the end of it, I was soaked to the bone. And look, it was just a great day all round. And I want to give a massive shout out to all the fans that made the trip out there, because such an incredible atmosphere, particularly in that second half. Oh my God, it was literal party mode in that away stand. I'm sure it was party mode wherever you were watching it.
I've seen the vlog, but so I've seen what the pub kind of the videos in the pubs before. But how do you compare the pubs in Bodo compared to here in London?
Well, it was weird because obviously they're not that big, right? You know, Bodo's incredibly small.
Were there Bodo fans in the pubs, or was it just Tottenham?
Yeah, it was a mixture everywhere. Like the pub that I was in was mainly Spurs, but there were Bodo fans in there as well. But there were a few more pubs dotted around with Spurs fans in. So, I mean, everyone was kind of like spread out. So it wasn't like the classic away in Europe where you like take over a square and everyone's together. Like there were just not that many Spurs fans out there. It was a 400. It was a 400 allocation, right? So, like I would say before the game was nice, you know, all gathering, good conversation, good songs and stuff like that. But it wasn't like what it maybe sometimes usually is. That's what I would say.
Were there any Tottenham fans not in the away end, like in the home end or anything like that?
Yeah, so there were on the left hand side. I think it might have been Spurs' premium seats, because there seemed to be quite a few Spurs fans in the home end. Good old Sean, Henry and Johnny were in the UEFA seats, so they got told to come into the away end.
Couldn't contain themselves.
They couldn't contain themselves. But I think there were quite a few Spurs fans dotted around the whole stadium, because I was speaking to a lot of fans before the game, right, and a lot of Danish fans, Norwegian fans, and Spurs have a massive following in Norway, like a massive following, and a lot of fans have come from Oslo and all different parts of Norway, Spurs fans, just for the game, and they obviously couldn't get a ticket in the way, and so they're all sitting in the home end. And they're massive Spurs fans, these guys. It's actually quite incredible. Like it seemed like every other person I spoke to was like a Norwegian Spurs fan. It was crazy.
Unbelievable. Which it was learned. Now, if you're a Norwegian Spurs fan, especially if you're a Bodo fan, like the guy, do you see Jorgensen before the game?
No, I didn't get to see him.
But a lot of them will probably support both. But in terms of before we get into the game, like the atmosphere in the stadium, and in terms of just walking into that stadium, you know, seeing how big it was in the flesh, what was that like?
It was tiny. It really was tiny. Like, I would say, like, probably a non-league or a League Two ground, you'd probably think it is, like, just walking up to it. That's how tiny it was. Going to the away end, I thought it was like going into a little cage. That's what it felt like you were going in. It's quite surreal that was a venue of a Europa League semi-final. It was really surreal to be there, to be honest. It just didn't feel like a stadium that should be hosting that kind of event. Look, no disrespect to Bodo, but that's what it felt like. But what I would say is, from the second I got off the plane, you could just tell like the sense of occasion in the whole town. You really could. You walk off the plane, you get out the airport. Even in the airport, there's Bodo flags everywhere. Get out the airport, you're walking down the road into the town, which is like, from the airport to get into the town is literally a 5-minute walk. It's mad.
How big do you get to walk around the town? Is it a big town?
To be honest, I walked around the town a little bit, walked by the harbour, but once we got into that pub, I don't think we left until kick-off.
What time did you get into the pub?
I got into the pub, I think, 5 or 6 hours before kick-off.
Nice.
So we kind of got a space in the pub, and then that was it. That was that, to be honest, and the beers and the drinks were flowing. But no, what I was saying is, like, you walk through the town, every single home, every single residential home had a Bodo flag outside. Every shop had a Bodo kind of flag in their window. It was just everywhere. You could just really set it. Felt like, you know, when you walk around London during the Euros or the World Cup and you just see England flags everywhere. That's what it felt like.
I see. Any unique drinks in the pubs or anything Norwegian specific?
Yeah, there was a one drink that was in, I don't even know, it was in like some tiny bottle. I just go to the guy like, oh, what is that drink? And he's like, and then the guy next to me who was, getting a drink at the same time goes, all right, let's have one, then I'll buy you one. And it was literally the most disgusting shot in the world. It was like, tasted like Jaeger or something, but it was not great. It really was not great. Very expensive over there in Bodo. It really was like 11, 12, 13 pound a pint.
Was that just for tourists? Or
No,
you think? No, that's just the price.
I was speaking to locals and they say like,
you got it cheap.
the cost of living there is crazy high, but the wages are crazy high there as well.
Interesting.
So, they're living life good there in Norway.
Would you live
the
there?
air is very fresh.
Could you live in
fresh
Bodo?
food there. Would I live there?
Could you live in Bodo?
I don't know, man. I don't know. It's no Tottenham High Road.
But I saw some of the scenery you were kind of taking videos of while you're walking around the town and all the mountains and everything.
Beautiful.
Very scenic.
Yeah, it was very beautiful. You had, as soon as you landed, you saw in the background these really tall mountains with like snow all over it. And then as we were landing as well, you saw these little like craters of land within the sea. It was unbelievable. And a lot of people were taking dips in the sea. So
cold plunges.
Yeah, they were doing those cold plunges, and we were sitting there in a restaurant, and we were overlooking the sea, and we could see all these people just going into this kind of cabin or something, and you're coming out and taking these plunges in this freezing cold water, and I'm just like, what are you guys doing? There is no chance you'll catch me doing that, but apparently it's very healthy for you. So yeah, it seemed like something I would never do, to be honest.
Phenomenal. Sounds like an unbelievable trip.
It really was. It's just like something, it's like kind of like to go to a Europa League semi-final in a place like that. Like I said before, so surreal. And the first half, I felt like fans were very nervy going into the game. Like Bodo fans, it was like a festival occasion throughout the town the whole day. You know, people, the town was absolutely packed. Didn't seem like anyone was working on
Was
that
there
day.
any Bodo ultras that you saw?
Nah.
No,
I was speaking
ultras?
to a few Bodo fans. They say there's no such thing as Bodo ultras. They're all
No
like
such thing.
it's, they have them maybe in the southern parts of Norway, but up there everyone is just so friendly. Everyone just wants
Super
to
chill.
chat. Everyone just wants to drink. It's just such nice people there. Really is. And a lot of fans were saying to me before the game, because, you know, we're all mingling together, the Bodo and the Spurs fans, and they were saying to me before the game, like, look, if you guys win, like, we're just happy to be here. That's what it felt like from them, which is madness in the European semi-final.
Which kind of makes sense when it comes to, how they got there and their story. I'm sure this is like an unbelievable occasion, but no one expects them to be there. So it's kind of like, not a no-lose situation in a sense, because
that's what they were saying, because they were saying, like, if we win, it'll be the best day of our lives. If we lose, it's still going to be the best day of our lives, because we're in a European semi-final here in Bodo. That's what they were saying.
Fair enough. So the game, when kick off, I saw the
There was
fireworks.
a game? I didn't even know there was a game yesterday.
I'm not sure Bodo knew either. I saw the fireworks when they had kickoff, and there was a big kind of not presentation, but good grand opening to the game. But game went as expected, didn't it? Well, not as expected, I should say, but
just
better than expected.
Just before we get into the game, I want to say a massive big up to Tottenham as well for the flag, for the scarves. There was a scarf on each and every seat in the away end, and then they had to quickly take them off because it started peltering with rain, and then someone was on the turnstile giving you a scarf as you walked in. Which Spurs and fan interaction hasn't really gone down well, or has been non-existent, let's say, probably for the last God knows how long. But now I feel like in the last couple of weeks, they're really starting to up their game a little bit. Spurs, they're trying to interact with the fans a little bit more. Scarf was a really good touch, and it was definitely needed in that second half.
Free beer in the home leg.
And you know, everyone was waving it on top of their head. It provided a really good atmosphere. Last week, as you mentioned, the free beer, the tifo as well, which is usually like fan funded. I believe it was funded by the club this time. So it feels like since Vinay has come in, the fan interaction has been a lot better. And from what I was reading and what I'm hearing from Arsenal fans, that's the first thing that he did when he came into Arsenal as well, was very much headed up, kind of trying to get the fans and the club a lot closer together. And it feels like Spurs are on that pathway now.
Let's hope so. Let's hope it carries on in that trajectory, because we know there's been definitely a feeling amongst fans who are treating like customers. No one's a human, they're a customer reference number to this football club. And especially with the prices and how we're treated, there's fairly and rightly been a lot of disgruntlement with how we basically feel like this football club who we've grown up loving, and we've had, this has been our life, and, all of a sudden you have this hierarchy who are taking it and trying to make as much profit as possible, and don't see each individual fan as a supporter who's been following this club for decades and decades. And, the ones who have been following the club for many, many years are being known as legacy fans, and they don't even want them anymore. They want new touristy fans to come through the door and spend as much money as possible. So it's nice that, in recent weeks, maybe there are steps towards just doing little things to, try and keep the fans on side and try and make the fans feel like they matter, which I think that hasn't felt like that for a while.
It's those small things as well that make the real difference. Those small little touches that you can just start creeping the fans a bit closer to the club. There's been such a kind of disengagement between the two. Like, they've been nowhere near each other for ages, and these just creep each other a bit closer together. So, the away ticket last night was £22.50. That scarf in the shop costs about £15. So it's not bad.
So did someone collect all of them and start reselling them?
Yeah, probably. A lot of people were throwing them to the players when they came over to celebrate.
That's a nice touch.
Yeah.
So lovely.
But look, I think in terms of the game, like I said, a lot of Spurs fans were going into it with anxiety before the game. People in the pub saying, "Oh, is it going to be another Dr. Tottenham? And are we going to show up tonight?" A lot of question marks. Not many fans confident that Spurs were actually going to win the game in the 90 minutes. I think fans were confident that we were probably going to go through, but not confident that we were going to win the game in the 90 minutes. And they thought, it was going to be a bit of a backs against the wall job. They thought maybe we'd come under a lot of pressure in the game. And you know what? It was such a professional performance from Spurs. Tactics absolutely spot on by Ange Postecoglou. The players implemented it unbelievably well. And I just didn't feel threatened throughout those 90 minutes. And you're sitting there in the second leg of a semi-final Europa League. You feel like at some point, it's going to come on top of us. And we heard all these rumours about the Bodo Stadium and how good Bodo are at home. And we just never saw any of that. And as well, like, I heard about people were saying, people that we were speaking to, like, the atmosphere in the stadium, you're going to feel it. 8,000 fans are going to be completely on top of you. But that I didn't really feel either.
Yeah, maybe it was maybe a part. I mean, how was it right at the start of the game when they're introducing the players and stuff like that?
I mean, it was good. I mean, I've seen a lot better, to be honest. I have seen a lot better, but maybe it's just because I'm used to seeing a lot more fans. Maybe it's that, but I did expect a lot better. The tifo they had as well was very Arsenal-esque, to be honest. It wasn't the greatest tifo in the world.
The minions.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a game where we just felt uncharacteristically comfortable, I think, especially considering the magnitude of the tie, considering everything going into it with Bodo's home form and all the difficult circumstances we're playing this game in. There was no jeopardy, really. I mean, Vicario had very little to do for most of the game. He had that one save from Patrick Berg in the first half from a free kick, which, I don't know if it was a cross or a shot. Either way, Vicario had to deal with it. I mean, I just don't remember too much Bodo actually did throughout the game. But what I would say is we weren't offering that much. We had a couple of half chances as well.
We didn't need to, though.
Yeah, we didn't need to. Obviously, we got the 2-goal lead. I think we were basically... I think Bentancur, Basuma, that quartet of Bentancur, Basuma, Romero, Van de Ven, that four were just patrolling that central space, making sure that any time it went in there, we're the ones coming out winning the ball, and making sure that Bodo don't do those little interchanges, little passes, little 1-2s, which got them so far, especially at home, and they're so good at. And I think we were very, very good at stopping that, basically forcing them out wide where they're less basically threatening. And I think their wingers very much struggled to create any sort of quality, and I think that was a real good thing that Ange did. I think he kept the double pivot. Obviously, it was the same team pretty much as last week, minus Maddison, Decky coming in, and I think that was so crucial, just making sure that double pivot was covering all the space, making sure Bodo weren't getting any sort of advantage in those areas. And when you were stopping that, and then we were kind of winning the ball in those areas, breaking, maybe could have done a bit better with some counter-attacks, but I think we just knew as long as we kept stopping those moments, we'll probably find a moment from a set piece or something. If we can, get the first goal, the game will be there for us. And I think, as you said, it was very disciplined, very professional. The only thing I would say is at half-time, 0-0, obviously we were very comfortable. I never really felt like any jeopardy, but you just know, one mistake, one moment of magic from Bodo. If they get that first goal in that second half, it changes everything. They get a bit of momentum. And I was also looking back at their game against Lazio, and their home game against Lazio was also 0-0 at half-time. So I was a bit wary of that. Like, they didn't maybe have the best first half, but in the second half, they kind of exploded into life and really went for them. So I thought, even at 0-0, I was happy with how things were going, but you just knew you can't basically switch off. You can't let your guard down, because at any moment this tide could change. But obviously, as soon as we got that opening goal, that was it.
I'll tell you what, first, like I said before about the anxiety coming into it, and you could sense it in the stand in the first half. You thought everyone was kind of waiting for Bodo to just grow in influence in that first half and start, really attacking us in numbers. But like you say, that middle quartet was just like suffocating Patrick Berg in the middle of the park, and he's the one that's going to make something happen. And if he can't get on the ball for any sustained amount of time, they're not going to be able to do anything. So I think as the first half was wearing on, Spurs fans were definitely growing in confidence in the stands, definitely. And then at half time, everyone just started singing Spurs are on their way to Bilbao, and it literally didn't stop till the end of the game. And it was literally full-on party mode from half-time up until the final whistle. I felt like the majority of people in that away end thought at half-time, it's pretty much job done. And they didn't feel threatened. And that's what it was. And
we weren't threatened. That's the truth. Vicario had very little to do. And we expected a lot more from Bodo.
And it's because of... I don't even think it was, Bodo that played that badly. But, the manager even came out after the game and said that Spurs threw them off with the tactics that they deployed, and they expected Spurs to play a different game. And that's credit to Ange. And we just nullified them. We just completely nullified them. We did a complete number on them, and they had no answer to it at all. And I can't commend the job that they've done enough yesterday, because if you go to a stadium like that where they're, every single team that go to that stadium come under pressure at some point in the game, always. But we just didn't. And Bissouma, Bentancur, Romero, Van de Ven, even Udogie and Porro as well. All six of them, right, were absolutely brilliant. All brilliant from a defensive standpoint. Nothing was getting past them all day long.
Vicario was going long for his goal kicks again. I noticed as well. Didn't want to play it short. Maybe he didn't trust the pitch, or obviously it was a tactic as well, because in Frankfurt he was doing something similar. But very much, I think. If you look at the stats, Bodo, I think, had 70% possession on the day.
Oh, did they actually?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that goes to show, again, Tottenham sacrificing a bit of the ball to make sure that we got the job done, I felt.
It's like all our better performances this season, though, have come without the ball, with lower possession.
I think beginning of the season, not necessarily. I think we obviously beat City with 4-0 with less possession, but there were games out against United, Villa, West Ham, where we probably had majority possession.
I would say like the majority of our performance, maybe not less possession, but definitely like playing a different style where you're sitting more on the break. You look at the Frankfurt games as well. Well, definitely in the second half of the season anyway, for sure.
Yeah.
But look, I want to relive that second half all over again yesterday, because it was literal party mode in that away end. It was just incredible being there. And what is it about this green kit, guys? Talk to me about this green kit, because it just seems to be becoming something special now within Tottenham. European nights, away from home, in that green kit. Can we use that green kit in Bilbao? That's what I want to know.
Well, we want it to be our permanent kit, I think.
Yeah,
So make
100%.
Tottenham green.
No, but
There's
I
something
like-
about it.
I like the thing that we got about us now, like at home, all white. You know, that can never change. But away from home, it's got to be green every time.
100%. Forget this blue light. The light blue, we always perform badly in the light blue. We're always bad in that kit. So I think green needs to become our main away kit, 100%.
Has to be used in the final. And also,
If it's green and red is a bit of a clash. I don't know if they'll allow it. Maybe
is green and red a clash?
Can be. Well, it's a bit too close, probably. Too dark, kind of dominant colours. I hope not. And maybe if United can wear white and we wear green.
Who are the official home team in the final?
I think it's us, but I don't know. I think it is us because we were on that side of the draw, on the left side, so maybe it's us, but I don't know for sure. Let me see. Let me see who's first. I think it's us. We're the top, so...
Does that mean we have to wear our home kit, or we can choose what we want to wear?
No idea.
Because if we can choose what we want to wear, then give them the white kit and let us wear the green kit. Is their away kit white? Man,
I think they have a white away kit, don't they? I think so. Well, they usually do. No, I got no idea. But I think
Like
if we're at home, we're going to probably wear our home kit.
Yeah. But the reality, it was just a special, special night last night. To get to a European final, the night after Arsenal get knocked out in their semi-final as well.
What a couple
just
of days. Oh.
Exactly. Could you ask for a better 48 hours than that?
Absolutely not. It's been a beautiful couple of days. Beautiful, beautiful. And it's been as well just like pretty much very comfortable. Both the hate watch was very comfortable.
Well, you say that, but the first 10 minutes, I was looking like that. I was like,
Yeah,
what is going on?
10 minutes of stress, but I think by and large, as soon as PSG got that goal, it was quite comfortable. And then and yesterday was just I can't believe how comfortable it was. It was 2-0. We barely broke a sweat, and to get through in that manner was just so lovely because it's not something you expect from Tottenham. And I know everyone's going to say it's Bodo. I know all the rival fans, it's only Bodo, Glimt. It's always only, it's only them and it's only this quality of team and blah-de-blah-de-blah. But at the end of the day, on that occasion, how many times have Tottenham, threatened to bottle it or shot themselves in the foot and all these different things? And let's be honest, ever since probably the RZ home game, we've been brilliant in this Europa League, defensively especially. We've been absolutely great. We've nullified the opposition. We've attacked with purpose when we needed to. And I think exactly the same happened yesterday. I think we went in there with the lead. I think we played the game state. We played the fact we had a 2-goal lead. We didn't let it affect us. We didn't we didn't switch off. Maybe, as what I was saying, maybe the fact that we conceded that goal just meant we were that bit more on it defensively than we would have been if it was 3-0, and maybe we would have let our guard down a bit. But the fact was that we conceded that goal, maybe it just meant that we played a bit more pragmatically, potentially.
It's not just that, but what else I think plays a key factor in this tie is the way Ange Postecoglou lost to Bodo with Celtic. I think he would have learnt a lot from those two ties. He knows what can happen at that stadium if you don't have your guards up and you don't prepare for it properly. And, him going there with Celtic and getting battered over the course of 2 legs, I actually think he learnt a lot from that, and he took it into this game.
Yeah, and I think when we needed to dominate possession in this Europa League and attack the opposition and create chances, we've done it great. When we needed to sit in and defend and protect our lead and be very good defensively, we've done that as well. So I think we've, in terms of these knockout stages in the Europa League, we've been absolutely fantastic. So I think we're well worth a place in this final. And look, Man United on the 21st, it's going to be an unbelievable occasion. I think I can't remember a Europa League final with so much riding on it in terms of the trajectory of both clubs. Win or lose is like do or die for both clubs. It's going to be massive on so many fronts. But yeah, I'm just delighted that we got through unscathed. Don't think anyone got injured as well. The pitch just didn't seem a factor as well. I didn't see the pitch affecting Tottenham whatsoever. The pitch, artificial
the condition, everything that people were saying that was going to be a massive factor in this game just didn't turn out to be.
Yeah,
the pitch, the weather, the way Bodo are at home, like literally everything just wasn't a factor in the game. And I think that's all down to the way Spurs managed the game.
Yeah, and I completely agree. So I just can't wait for that final. I think everyone is getting looking forward to it.
So what are we? We're about
13
2 weeks,
days,
just less than 2 weeks away.
No, 12 days. because it's on a Wednesday, isn't it?
Well, just less than 2 weeks away, right, from the final now in Bilbao against Manchester United. We've got Crystal Palace this weekend. We've got Villa next week, Friday. What are your kind of initial thoughts going into that? Because it's against a Manchester United team who have been just as bad as Spurs this season in the Premier League. However, you're looking at United and you're looking at the way they've gone about, because we've both been really impressive, right, in the last 2 rounds, but in very different ways. Because United got, they were down and out, weren't they, against Lyon? They got through somehow in those last few minutes, scoring 3 goals in the last couple of minutes of extra time. Just mad. And then Bilbao, nobody gave them a hope in hell against Bilbao. And what was it, 7-1 over the 2 legs? And I think, maybe it puts gloss on actually how they performed over those 2 legs, the mammoth of the victory. But you still got to say, very impressive to do what they've done against a Bilbao team who were gunning for that trophy, home final and all that kind of stuff. And Spurs, on the other hand, have had 2 very professional kind of ties. Once against Frankfurt, where we did very, very well, particularly away from home. And at home, we probably should have scored more goals than we did, but still played the better of the teams over both legs by far, in my opinion. And in Bodo, again, better of the 2 teams by far over 2 legs, and defensively very solid, like very uncharacteristic maybe of Spurs, what we've seen this season, very defensively sound and just getting the job done with minimal fuss. So, I mean, with the 2 narratives of and the way the 2 teams have got there at this moment in time, what are you thinking?
Look, I'm confident we can beat them 100%. I know Man United. Credit to them for getting to the final as well. They deserve to be there. Also beat Sociedad, who got, remember, the round of 16 pretty comfortably. It has been an interesting quirk of their run, though, the fact that in each round they faced an opposition who've had a man sent off, which has ultimately been very crucial, I think, in each round to how they've gotten through. But look, you can only play what's in front of you, and those teams, got those men sent off, and you still got to take advantage of it, and they have, and every step of the way. I still feel like what I've seen from Tottenham when we've had our best team out in these last few weeks, we just seem to be a lot more of a controlled, disciplined, and I think we just look a lot, but much more of a team. I think United still seem that little bit more chaotic, especially that Lyon tie. Very lucky to kind of get through that tie. They needed 3 goals in 7 minutes to do it, and then credit to them, they did it. Unbelievable, and it was a crazy night. But that tie was very chaotic. They even conceded 2 goals against 10 men that's why they needed 3. Bilbao, unbelievable to beat them 7-1. I don't think it tells the full story of both ties, but they in that first leg, they were massively under the cosh. They should have been 1 or 2 down probably before Casemiro kind of scored against the run of play.
But the red changed the whole
and then
tie.
the red, it was a red and penalty, and it completely changed the tie. But fair to them, United took full advantage and won the game 3-0, and fair play to them. Second leg, no Nico, no Inaki, 2 their best 2 forwards are out. Even in that context, for about an hour, I was listening to a few United fans break down the game. For the first hour of the game, they were very much second best. Bilbao took the lead. I don't know if Bilbao had chances to make it 2 or 3, but definitely Bilbao's team were, the better team. Then, with 20 minutes to go, United get that killer goal, and then Bilbao just kind of collapse, and United end up scoring 3 late goals, a bit of gloss on the scoreline. But again, you got to take advantage of that situation. You got to put the game to bed, and they did, and they took advantage of Bilbao collapsing. And Bilbao are still a good team, so to beat them by that margin is impressive, but doesn't, I think, tell the full story. I think if you look at that and you just think that United were just like, I guess they did blow them away. Fair play to them, but I don't think it tells the full context of what happened over both legs. But they definitely deserve to win, and they definitely deserve to go through. And they were the better team over both legs, so fair play to Man United. But the way I'm seeing us play in these ties, the way we're limiting the opposition, the way we're when we need to go forward, we've still got that quality, and we're looking dangerous. And I think we're looking a little bit more of a settled team at the moment when we've got our best 11 out there. And the fact we've beaten them 3 times already this season in the Premier League, we know how to play against them. And as well, I think
have a psychological edge.
I think so. I'd like to hope so, and I think as well, United very much were struggling against teams who do kind of press them high and hound them and restrict them a lot. And I think if we can do that, we can physically overwhelm them, then that could be a massive thing in our favour going into that final. And as much as, look, United are definitely a better outfit maybe than what we're facing when we played them in those last 3 games. I think that's fair to say. I still think we got the edge over them. I really do. And I think we've got an unbelievable opportunity. Obviously, when you look at psychologically, though, Man United have been in finals in recent years. They won a final last year. They won a final the year before.
That's what I'm worried about.
So they have experience going into these finals, and but I think during this Europa League run, we've been battling against these kind of psychological battles throughout these knockout stages. And I think this team have been so battered and bruised this season in terms of defeats in the league and criticism and people not being happy with them and pelters online, all these different things. I guess same with them, but the way we've come through it and the way we've got to this point where we're in a European final, I think they're not going to be fearing anyone. They can probably feel like they can take on the world. And I do feel, as much as United have done well to get to this point, I still think when we've got our first choice 11, and from what I've seen from the knockout rounds, I still think we got the edge. And I think defensively, we're a much tighter unit now than we were a few weeks ago. And I think people don't give us credit for that.
Yeah, I do agree to a certain extent, and I do feel like we probably have a bit of an edge in the tie, albeit I do think it's like very minimal. I think it's very much an even game going into it, and I don't think either side are favourites. I think it's literally a 50-50 in my opinion. Spurs against Manchester United in this cup. Just the thing that worries me is just the thing that you mentioned before is, right, this is Manchester United, and they just seem to find a way to win trophies. Even in their worst moment, the last 2 seasons, FA Cup, Carabao Cup, beating some top. They beat Man City last season in the FA Cup final when nobody gave them a chance. So their fans are going to come into it full of confidence just because of that.
Is there any aspect though, in the sense that this means more to Tottenham in terms of the rhetoric that both managers have been putting out about this tournament? Amorim saying, regardless what happens in this tournament, we've had a bad season and this isn't going to save the season and it's just like an extra thing to try and get into the Champions League through the back door, is essentially what he's been saying. Whereas Ange basically is putting out the message, this means everything. This would be monumental for this football club. This is basically what I was brought in to try and do, is get a trophy for this football club. This club needs a trophy, and we've been, it's been on a barren run for so long. And United, as much as it would be amazing to win a Europa League, in the context of their history or even recent history, it's not like the be all and end all. It's not the biggest trophy that this club would want to win. And like for Tottenham, like our first European trophy in 40 years, like. This would mean just that much more. Maybe that could lead us to wanting it more on the day.
When did United last win Europa League? Because they won it not that long ago.
They won it under Mourinho in 2017.
With Zlatan and Rooney and them lot.
2017 under Mourinho.
So it's actually not that long ago they won it. But I agree with you. Everything you just said there is true. It does mean a lot more to us, particularly the fans. To go and win this trophy, it means a hell of a lot more to us than it does to them. However, that can work for you and that can work against you. That can work against you in terms of, shitting the bed on the day, coming into it with a lot of nerves, a lot riding on it. And maybe United will be a bit more freer. But look, I think when it comes down to it on the day, it's going to mean a hell of a lot to both clubs and it's going to mean the world. And it's the only thing that can save both of our seasons. And even with United, it means a hell of a lot to them this season to get back into that Champions League for next season, to pretty much save their season. Because, if they're in the Champions League next season, Nobody's gonna think back to Manchester United and think where they finished. Ruben Amorim only came in halfway through the season.
The funny thing is, it's to the fans and the club, in a weird way, it's probably more important for Tottenham. But in terms of like the future of the clubs, you could argue it's probably more important for Man United in terms of the financial trouble they're in, and laying off staff, and in terms of.
Well, you say that, but I mean, Spurs are saying they need to sell to buy and all this kind of stuff, and we can't buy players.
Well,
and
there's a few journalists.
Financials are saying that it's not great.
But we are in a much better financial position than Man United. Like I think. In terms of the financial future, we know that Man United, first of all, are looking to get on that journey of doing the new stadium. We know that they've been laying off staff because they can't afford to keep on all the staff they've had. We know that Amorim needs a massive overhaul of that squad if he wants to basically get that squad ready to play his way of playing, and he's going to need a lot of signings, whereas Tottenham have got all these youngsters in place. Financially, we've got events and all these different things which puts us in a much better position, especially from PSR and all that kind of stuff. So when you're looking at it from that point of view, you could definitely make an argument that it's going to be massive for it was more important in a way that Man United win that trophy for the money than it is for Tottenham from a financial perspective. I think you could probably argue.
Yeah, from that perspective, yeah, you're probably right there. But I think like the way you got to look at it is probably what it means to the actual club and the fans, and you know the narrative surrounding everything, with Spurs not winning a trophy for so long, particularly a European trophy since 1984. Man U seeming even in their worst times can win trophies back to back seasons when they've been absolutely terrible. So I mean, look, for different reasons, it's obviously massive for both clubs. And it's just,
has there ever been a proper do or die Europa League like this? I just can't remember. Because even when I remember when Arsenal played Chelsea, Chelsea were already in the Champions League. It was pretty do or die for Arsenal, but not really for Chelsea.
Yeah.
But like for both clubs, it's literally like whoever loses,
and
it's winner takes all. It's mad.
And also the game is completely on a knife edge. Like you remember in the last couple of cup finals that we played in, the Man City one, the Liverpool one, those are our two last cup finals, right?
Yeah,
Carabao. We were massive, heavy underdogs for both those cup finals. Liverpool, what did they just get like 94 points in the season or something?
They've just finished second. City, but they did 97, I think. They had,
yeah. So you know what I mean? They got a crazy amount. We were massive underdogs going into it.
Mm-hmm.
Man City in COVID, they were obviously champions at the time, I think. And
even when we won the Carabao, we were probably calling
Chelsea. Yeah, we were massive underdogs then. But I'm talking about these two in specific because even in that Man City one, we'd just lost Jose Mourinho. We're going into it with Ryan Mason against Pep Guardiola. Like, you know, we were 9 times out of 10 we were never going to win that final. Let's be real, or even probably 99 out of 100. But this one, we're pretty much going into it very even. I don't think, if you probably look at the odds now, I haven't looked at them, but if you probably look into it, I'll probably say United are maybe slight favourites with the bookies. But there's not much in it whatsoever. So it's literally, in my opinion, this is a 50-50 shot.
Yeah, and it's, I think as well, between now and the game, it's going to be crucial in terms of who, if either team picking up injuries, like if Bruno was to pick up an injury or something, and for us, if I guess if Romero or Van de Ven was to pick up an injury, how big that would be going into that final.
Yeah,
I think.
How do you manage these next 2 games? Then?
Yeah, I know.
Do you not play Romero and Van de Ven at all? Do you want to see them play a few minutes just to keep up that match practice and stuff like that? Like
maybe a half. I don't know.
How do you manage this period, these next 10 days?
Yeah,
it's going to be difficult. And as well, like there's a serious conversation to be had about Kulusevski, because Bergvall and Maddison obviously won't be there for the final. We need a creative player in the middle there, but Kulusevski, I thought he was the poorest player on the park last night.
Yeah, probably.
And it's been like that since he's been back from injury. So do we keep persisting with him and try and play him into form over these next 2 games? And I don't know, which way do we go with it all?
Yeah, I think you play him. You keep playing him to try and get him back into form, I think, instead of resting him and wrapping him in cotton wool, because I think he needs to go into that final with some sort of good form, with some sort of good performance behind him, because since he's come back from injury, we haven't seen Decky as good as we know he can be. And yesterday was more evidence of that. He just seems off it physically. He's not keeping the ball well. He's making bad decisions. I think he's getting like ever so slightly better, but it's so small that it's hard to give him praise for it.
I can't think. I didn't see anything. I mean, maybe it was because of my state I was in, but every time I saw Kulusevski, it seemed like he was just getting easily shoved off the ball last night.
He was, most of the time. There are a few things he did quite well. There was one moment in the second half where he pounced really well on a pressing moment, and then played Richarlison through on goal, and Richarlison didn't take the most of it. So there was a couple of moments like that where it was quite good. He ended up, obviously, I don't know how much praise you'll give him for it, but he did end up getting an assist for Porro's goal.
What an assist that was.
Unbelievable. The way he played into Porro's path.
That was even better than Tom Carroll's for Gareth Bale.
Exactly. But yeah, I think he needs to keep playing him, because I think he's only going to get better with more game time, you'd hope.
I tell you players that we can wrap in cotton wool, which I don't think literally have no minutes leading up to it, maybe a few minutes here and there, is Pedro Porro, because he's played so much football this season. I don't think it should affect him. And by the way, how good has Pedro Porro been over these last couple of weeks? Like last night, I thought he was immense. Anna Doggy, immense.
That whole back line, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that... I say probably you want to start these next 2 games probably with a similar lineup to what we saw against last time out. Who did we play in the league last time out? West Ham.
West Ham.
You know, similar teams to that. And in both games against Villa and against Palace, maybe just start 1 or 2 others that might start the final.
Yeah, and just keep some of them ticking over that need it. But also, there's definitely a case for, like, you know, Tel and Odebear. Like, their places, for me, are very much up for grabs. I don't think those places are nailed on by any stretch in the final. You know what I mean? So I think
I wouldn't want to see Richarlison. I just don't know. I'm not into this whole Richarlison thing on the left-hand side.
That's my point.
Yeah.
So I'm saying Tel and Odebear.
I think it should be Tel or Sonny. I mean, we're hearing rumours Sonny could be back this weekend.
Yeah, we need him to get him some game time as well. But my point is, like, they should start with the intention that their places are very much up for grabs. So, like, they could very much get a place in that final team if they play good games in these next couple games. So I think they'll probably play, and hopefully that sparks them. The problem is in midfield, because we don't have many options, really. We kind of have to play one of Bentancur or Bissouma and
I think
Decky,
they
really.
both have to play.
Well,
You're talking about the weekday games. Well, Sarr will come
I'm
in
saying
the
there's Sarr, but apart from him, who else can really, you know, one of
Gray.
Yeah, but he's going to have to play fullback.
Yeah.
So it's one of,
Unless in the league you play a Davis at left back, but he's going to be needed at centre back. Well, you got Danso there. Yeah, it's tough, isn't it?
that's what I'm saying. In midfield, you're probably going to have to play one of, you're going to have to play Decky, probably, and you're going to have to play one of Bentancur or Bissouma with Sarr. Unless he goes
maybe
inventive.
you play one of the games Bentancur, one of the games Bissouma.
Something like that,
Keep
yeah.
Gray and Sarr in there for both games.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind that. And maybe, you know, they all play 45 in both games.
Look, to be fair, I know we haven't been getting the results in the Premier League and the performances have not been good. But I think in terms of his managing the squad leading up to these Europa League games, I think he's doing a fairly good job.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's hard to disagree when you see the performances and how we've been doing in the Europa League, you know. Done very well in the quarters and the semi-finals. So it's hard to discredit what he's done in this latter stages of the
He's been very deliberate
of the season. Yeah, it has been. It's clear it has been.
And even when you hear his speech after the game, great speech, by the way. I think it's gotten everyone so pumped up that after the game speech in the dressing room. But he literally says it. He's literally not hiding it. These next 2 games are to get ready for that final.
Yeah,
like he said it there for all to see.
100%. But it's a good point that MM makes. This is the point I made before West Ham. Play Reguilon in the league now.
Yeah, why not? I don't. Yeah, sure.
It should
and
be.
then
why not?
Regulon, Davis,
Spence and Reguilon at fullbacks,
and then Gray midfield.
We're gonna need to use everyone. We need everyone to be fit for the Europa League. We can't make any kind of. We just have to wrap people in cotton wool now. This is just where we're at. This is a European final we're talking about. It's not a quarter final anymore or a semi final, and they're big in their own right. This is literally do or die now. One game till a trophy.
Someone says get Timo involved.
Get Timo back in. Why not?
Get them all. Get Scarlett. I'm surprised because Solanke played 90 minutes yesterday. I was very surprised about that. That was one thing I was worried about before the game because playing with Richarlison and Solanke from the start. Are we going to end the game with neither of them on the pitch? But Solanke played 90 minutes and he didn't.
Well,
he looked fine.
We had that debate, didn't we, about telling Richarlison out on the left hand.
Well, we
side.
thought Richarlison wasn't fit, didn't we?
Yeah.
That turned out
I mean, I always thought though, if Richarlison was fit, he was always going to start that game. Always. And that's what came to pass. But
I think Tel actually looked quite bright when he came on.
He did. He didn't he whip in a few nice.
Well, it was his
pieces?
corner, wasn't it? Wasn't it his corner for the goal?
It was his corner, yeah.
Yeah, so it was 0-0 when he came on.
So yeah, I would like to see some academy. Why not? You like some Mikey Moore, Ajayi, all these guys.
So the question is now, if we do win this trophy, we do lift that trophy in Bilbao on the 21st of May.
Yeah.
Have we had a better season than Arsenal?
You know
that is the question on everyone's lips right now.
You know what? Arsenal are so firmly in the mud right now. It's crazy because this was supposed to be their season. They're all coming. Yeah, this is our year. We're gonna win the league. Oh, the league's done. This is our year. We've just battered Real Madrid. We're gonna win the Champions League. This is our year. They've been saying that literally throughout the whole course of the season and in the summer leading up to it. And what's happened now is they're not able to win a trophy now. Newcastle won the Carabao Cup. In the FA Cup, it's one of Crystal Palace or Man City. So let's assume Man City win that. So that's Newcastle, Man City. Chelsea going to win the Conference League. So they've got a trophy behind them. Tottenham or Manchester United are going to win the Europa League. Liverpool have won the title. That literally means everyone are going to win a trophy this season, apart from Arsenal.
100%.
Which is mad.
Which would be crazy.
Which
to
is
think
mad
about
when this was Arsenal's
season.
year, but this is everyone but Arsenal's year.
Just you wait till City drop. Just you wait. We're going to be right there waiting for him. And look at them sitting there with no trophy, and all their rivals are pretty much going to be a trophy in hand.
Oh my God.
They're going to be. If we win that trophy, they are so far in the mud. It's unbelievable. That'll be our fourth European trophy, and they're still on one, or they just got one Cup Winners' Cup.
Yeah, Cup Winners, not even a trophy
Not
anymore.
even a trophy anymore. They are so lagging behind on the European front, man, and they won't be able to take it. They will not be able to take it.
They have no European pedigree whatsoever. Arsenal are literally a three-pin plug. They are useless in Europe. That's all they are.
And we're going to have Champions League football and a trophy behind us. And they're just going to have... They could even finish fourth or fifth this season if they lose their next two games.
When, by the way, everyone likes to lay into Harry Kane. Oh, he's not a big game player. He can't get over the line. Well, I know he's won the Bundesliga this year, but I'm talking about like cup finals and semi-finals when it actually comes down to it and it matters. What happened to Bukayo Saka in that second leg, by the way, against PSG? I've never seen such an open goal miss before in my life. Oh my God. At 2-1 down as well. Yeah. How is he not finishing that?
Apparently all these tap-ins are easy though.
If that happened to Harry Kane, we would never hear the end of it.
100%.
Never.
100%. And that was a big moment in the game.
I'm not hearing anyone talk about it.
Oh, I am.
Oh, you are. Maybe I've just been off social media too much.
People have definitely been mentioning it. But if we get a European trophy, you better run and hide, you Arsenal fans. If we get a European trophy, and you'll be so firm. You know what? As well, they are so like on their like high horse at the moment about being better team than us and all that kind of stuff, which is fair enough. But if we're like dining at the same table as them and we're sitting next to them at that Champions League table, they're looking over like, what are you doing here? We're like, we're on the Europa League, mate. What do you mean? He's like, no, you don't deserve to be. You finished 16th. You can't be at the same table as me. We're like, mate, we deserve to be here. We deserve to be here.
The best thing about it is, though, if we win the Europa League, we go into pot 1.
So we'll be in a bigger pot, higher pot than them. And we got the chance to win another European trophy next year in the Super Cup. Imagine. So we could be going 2 European trophies before they win one if we win this Europa League.
Look, if we win that Europa League, everyone just book Hungary, man. Everyone just book it, because every time that Spurs fans get ahead of themselves and start booking flights early, it just seems to come through.
We need to manifest.
Working for us in that
manifesting sense. It. We're just manifesting it, and it's coming to pass. We booked our Bilbao flights weeks ago, and here we are on our way to Bilbao. Absolutely no crisis averted yesterday, and it's going to be incredible if we can get that trophy over the line. What it would mean for us, and I think Arsenal fans are worried. Do you think Arsenal, surely they prefer United to win it? But I think but also I don't think they want United to win it either.
It's a lose-lose for them, because they hate both clubs, but they hate us a hell of a lot more. And it's standard for United to win trophies. It's not standard for Spurs to win trophies. Let's be real. So with Arsenal having the season that they've had, they're going to finish fourth in a 2-horse race. They got battered in a Champions League semi-final after battering Real Madrid.
It's very similar. It will be very similar to that season we finished second, but they won the FA Cup. Except in this instance, we're also going to have Champions League football on top of that.
Yeah, I mean,
on top of that trophy,
Europa League is a lot bigger than an FA Cup, isn't it?
I think so. I mean, I was watching a stream yesterday on True Geordie's stream, and he was saying the League Cup or FA Cup is bigger than Europa League.
What?
Yeah.
Nah, that's total garbage.
It's only because Newcastle won the League Cup. That's why he's saying it.
Total garbage. How is a League Cup, where the prize is Conference League football, better than a Europa League, where the prize is Champions League football?
Because he was arguing to win the League Cup, they had to beat Chelsea, Arsenal, and Liverpool in the final. So on that basis, it's bigger to win the League Cup than it is to win the Europa League. But it's not a European trophy. It's not this. We're playing a lot of good European teams, and a lot of good European teams. A lot of people are saying how bad the competition is in this trophy, and I understand it because the Champions League clubs haven't been knocked down. But you've still got third in the Bundesliga, or fourth. You've got fourth in La Liga, and you've got fifth in Serie A, who are level on points with fourth.
Yeah.
So you've got teams in the top four of all three major leagues in this competition competing for this trophy, right? So it's not like there's total mugs in this trophy.
But on top of that, right, Ajax were in it. They're top of the Eredivisie, running away with that title this season. So even in some of the other leagues, you got
a good team, always a good team.
Porto, yeah. So I mean, you've got good teams in it. Look, don't get me wrong, it is a weaker tournament than it has been over previous years because of the Champions League dropouts, but it doesn't diminish winning it by any stretch of the imagination. It's still the same prize, and it'll be a monumental occasion if we were to win this trophy. It really would be.
But people are acting like we're playing 10th and 11th in every division. We're literally playing teams in the top four of the big five leagues, top three leagues. We're playing teams in the top four. Maybe it says the gap in quality between the Premier League and the other leagues, but still, there are teams in the top four who probably will be playing Champions League next season in this competition.
I've never heard anyone, like recently in the last 10 years, diminish the Europa League as much as it's being diminished now. Like when Chelsea won it, everyone's saying, "Oh yeah, credit to Chelsea going to win the Europa League." When Arsenal and Chelsea were in the final, it was a bit of a different narrative, a different spin because Spurs were in the Champions League final. But if Spurs weren't in that Champions League final, that would have been massive for both clubs in that moment in time. When Manchester United won it, they're all saying, "Oh yeah, what a great job by Manchester United." You know what I mean? As soon as Spurs get to this moment, everyone's just like, "Oh yeah, the Europa League shit now."
Do you think if the final was Frankfurt versus Bilbao, anyone would say anything?
No, definitely not.
There wouldn't be any conversation about who deserves what.
And like
There
this
wouldn't
whole
even conversation.
the whole narrative saying that you shouldn't get Champions League for winning the Europa League. Like the reasons I heard from it, I think it was from Wenger or it was from someone else. It was like saying, yeah, but these clubs are finishing 15th and 16th in their league. I mean, so what? Like, what does it make? Why does it matter if we're finished 15th and 16th and we're going to win the Europa League? Why is our league position being taken into account when we're going to win the Europa League? Why are the two connected?
Yeah, 100%. When Wigan won the FA Cup, did they not deserve to be in Europe?
Exactly.
Because they got relegated that year.
They
didn't deserve it. Is that
saying, yeah.
You know what I mean? I think it's absolutely ludicrous. People are making just complaining. They've got nothing to do with each other. They're different competitions, and it's always been like that. And I think why should finishing fifth entitle you to Champions League football more than a major European trophy? Why? And also, do we want to diminish the Europa League? Is that what we want? Because people didn't care about the Europa League because there wasn't that Champions League prize there. People used to rest players for the Europa League. It was a competition that was losing interest, and people weren't bothered about it. Now, people are taking it very seriously. People are putting all their eggs in this basket. Is that not what we want? Do we not want teams taking European competitions as seriously as possible? Is that not what we want? To make the competition as interesting as possible? Like, why are we trying to diminish the Europa League and trying to... Basically, we're trying to like get UEFA to get teams to rest players for this competition and not care about it. Why would we want that? It's more interesting this way when there's a massive prize up for grabs.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't understand all this spitting dummies out the pram and just because Tottenham and United in a final, all of a sudden after this rule has been in place for 11 years, 12 years, it's now being discussed.
Yeah,
I don't understand it.
And also, you look at it like each winner of the Europa League, right? They all finish that. I'll guarantee you. I don't know off the top of my head, but the last 10 winners of the Europa League, how many of them in that particular season finished in Europa League spot or above in their league? You know what I mean? Probably all of them. If not, maybe there was one odd occasion that they didn't. So they want the winner of the Europa League to go back into the Europa League next season when they probably would have got that from their league position anyway. This is supposed to add an extra incentive.
Exactly. And what's the point? Why have... I think having that incentive winning Europa League to jump into the Champions League is ginormous. It's massive for the competition. And it's like saying if you win the Championship, you should stay in the Championship. It's like, what nonsense is that? No, you qualify for the Premier League. It doesn't matter. Like, I think the whole thing, the whole debate is complete and utter nonsense. And I can't believe Arsene Wenger, of all people, is indulging it. I understand he was the one who thought top four was a trophy. He was the original person. But still, like, he should... Maybe it's because he never won a Europa League. Maybe that's why he's bitter about it.
I think so.
But I think for me, like, winning a major European trophy should trump and all these different things that people are talking about, in my opinion, because it's a massive thing for the club, for a football team, and it should be a massive achievement.
I would like to see, though, the FA Cup, maybe Carabao Cup being given the Europa League prize back again, and the FA Cup given a Champions League prize again. That would reinvigorate the FA Cup. Can you imagine if the FA Cup winners got Champions League at the end?
What
of
you mean? Take away a place for a league
spot,
spot. So it'd be basically top 3 and maybe top 4 if
Yeah.
it dropped down.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind that.
Because like the FA Cup is losing its magic a little bit now, but I think if you did that, it would add extra. Like it reinvigorated the Europa League, it will reinvigorate the FA Cup.
Yeah, you're probably right about that.
Anyway, that is our match review. Went off on a few tangents there as well. We got a few super chats to get into before we get into player ratings. And first up is Huz says, "I'm happy that we won. However, I'm not happy with the players celebrating. Man United players aren't doing that. Really pissed me."
You what?
He's saying Man United didn't celebrate.
I'm sure they celebrated.
Who doesn't celebrate getting to a
especially
final?
especially when it's away from home. It's tradition. You go over to the away fans on a big night like that and you celebrate with them.
Yeah.
That's what you should be doing. I'll be pissed if they didn't do that.
I tell you what, though, like the celebrations last night from the players were very short. It wasn't like they were there for ages. Like, do you remember the Champions League when we were in Ajax? The players came out, they celebrated for ages, and they went out and they came back in, and the managers came out, blah blah blah. It felt
I guess
like,
maybe because there was 400 of them. I don't know.
I don't know if it was the amount. I don't know. It just felt like it was a very short celebration. I think it wasn't over the top, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, I guess Ajax as well. The way we went through. This was dramatic,
And it was Champions League.
And it was Champions League. This is like Bodo were already 3-1 up. Like it was a comfortable win. There was 400 fans there. It kind of probably led to the celebrations not being as big and stuff like that. But you could see they were very, very delighted.
It's great. Tell came straight over and just jumped straight into the fans.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
fantastic.
Tell loves coming into the fans, doesn't he? Steve Johnson says, "Lads, Spurs must beat United. All the Arsenal banter about lack of trophies, and they still think they had a better season. Do it, this long-time Liverpool supporter. Let's walk together on this." I'm happy to
big
walk
up to
together with
Steve.
you on that,
Yeah,
mate.
he sent a super chat yesterday as well, saying something similar. Big up to Steve Johnson, the Liverpool fan who's backing Tottenham all the way. Come on.
Charlie Bell says, "Bilbao, Bilbao, Tottenham Hotspur gonna Bilbao." Big up to you, Charlie. Michael Hellman says, "Spurs are on their way to Bilbao."
Come on.
Malware says, "When we win the final, I really hope Ange goes full on Hulk Hogan to the media and ends it with a mic drop on a big fat mate."
On a big fat mate. You see him yesterday in the press conference. Some of the stuff he was saying. He was,
I didn't see the press conference actually. What's he said?
There was one question was asked about Man United, and he was asked Amorim, because he was asked about Amorim, saying, Amorim said if they win the trophy, it's not going to save our season. Do you feel something similar? And he said, why the hell do I care what Amorim has got to say or what he believes? Like he's got his own story. Man United on their own journey. This is our journey, and this is like, and for me. And he went and asked a journalist, what would it mean, do you think? What do you think it would mean for Tottenham to win the European trophy? He said it'll be massive. And I said, exactly. So why are you asking this question? Everyone knows that it's a completely different story to Man United. They haven't gone 15 years without a trophy and 40 years without a European trophy. We're on a completely different trajectory. Maybe if Man United had gone 15 years without a trophy, maybe they would feel differently. But it's a different story and completely different journey. And for us, this is absolutely ginormous, and I don't take any of that lightly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And last super chat from Scorpion Fan for Life says, "Can we play Son and Kulu into form before the final?" We need to get Son back from injury first, but Kulusevski for sure. I think they both probably need significant minutes before the final.
Agreed.
All right, let's get into it. Let's get into our player ratings from the historic win in Bodo last night. First up is Vicario. Look, I only remember him, we're giving him 7s. I only remember him making one real save, to be honest. Doing well in terms of his long kicking out the back and relieving the pressure from that point of view. But yeah, I mean, he was hardly tested, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it was a comfortable day for him. Obviously, definitely changed up his goal kicks, wasn't playing it short as much, and maybe that helped him because it just meant he had a lot of clarity when it came to getting the ball to feet. He just basically pumped it long a lot of the time, looking for Rishi or for Solanke, and it was working a lot of the time. Made one good save. It was a decent save, to be fair, because it was heading, I think, just dipping under the bar, so he had to claw it away. It's a fair play. Other than that, it was a very comfortable day for him.
Pedro Porro, 9s all round for Pedro. And this guy has really, really stepped up in this latter stage of the season where it really matters. And what I loved from Pedro yesterday, you know, he always comes over to the away fans and gives it all that. But last night, he did it about 5 or 6 times. He was loving it last night, Pedro. And this was just during the game. And after the game, obviously, he came over and was celebrating like a head case. But during the game yesterday, I felt like he was our main outlet in terms of going forward. He was the most creative player on the park. And when you don't have Maddison, you really need someone else to step up in that aspect. And I think he really did that. And then from a defensive standpoint, I thought he was part of a back four that just didn't really put a foot wrong.
Yeah, I think their winger really struggled up against him. And I think he was basically had him in his pocket throughout most of the game. I think on the ball, phenomenal. Obviously, he had a really good free kick, as you said, which was tipped over the bar. That was a really good effort. I think what was actually one of our main points of attack was getting the ball into him in midfield and having those switches of play and getting Richarlison in space. And those long kind of direct switches from him was fantastic. And I think he was doing really good stuff, linking with Johnson. He would play it back to him and he would just take one touch and just bam, a long switch right into the feet of Richarlison. And that was really creating opportunities for us. And that was our best moment of attack. And obviously, bit of luck with it, but he did get the goal. He got the second goal.
You telling me he didn't mean that?
Maybe he meant it. Look, if anyone would have meant it, probably Porro, to be fair.
I don't think he meant it.
I don't think either, but if anyone did, it's probably Porro because he's got the quality to do that. And obviously, he got a bit of luck, but I think his quality was really, really important in this game. And he's just on amazing form, especially in these Europa League games. I think he's playing so well at the moment with his delivery. And I think I saw a tweet yesterday calling him Trent Light, and that's what it's looking like. And maybe it's Trent is Porro Light.
Cuti Romero up next. 9s all round for fans have been bemoaning the fact of leadership ability in the team, and I felt like he led that backline by example last night. And I've had my words to say about Cuti Romero and leadership and all that kind of stuff, but last night in specific, I thought he led that team exemplary well. Really, really top performance in that aspect. Defensively, so aggressive up against his man all the time, winning his duels, winning his area. He just was so dominant. So dominant, and again, part of the back line that was just so key to us, and grabbed himself an assist as well for the first goal, Solanke's goal.
Yeah, I think he was phenomenal, and I think Cuti has been himself been so important in this kind of cup run. I think he's really locked in and performed as well as we know he can in these cup games, these knockout games, and I think the experience he's had for Argentina in tournament football, in Copa America and World Cup, he's really brought that into these knockout games, and I think he's been phenomenal for them. And he's one of the few players who knows how to get through these games and knows how to be disciplined in these kind of games and knows how to manage them. And I think he's been absolutely phenomenal in these cup games. And I think absolutely nothing. And I think a lot of that was just down to how disciplined and how good Cuti was. So phenomenal.
And it wasn't just down to him; it was down to his partner as well, Mickey van de Ven, who Sim gives him an 8. I gave him a 9 as well. To be honest, I gave the whole back line 9s just because of the unit that they created together as well, not just for individual displays. But Van de Ven, again, just so dominant, so aggressive. I felt it was even more aggressive from Van de Ven in this game than we've seen probably all season. He was... you just knew there was just an air of no one is getting past any of these players, but particularly Mickey van de Ven yesterday, and another top performance.
Yeah, and there was that one moment as well in the first half, which I think similar to the Frankfurt game, they played a long ball over the top. It looked like for a moment Bodo might be in, but then Van de Ven puts on the afterburners and he shut it down, and that was it. That was pretty much the only opening they had. So I think, he had a phenomenal game. I think him and Cuti pretty much had their attack on lockdown. There was a couple of moments as well, as you say, he was pressing in their half, and there was one moment actually where he wins the ball on their left wing, and he's literally in on goal. But the referee decided for some reason to blow up for a foul, and on replay it didn't look like a foul to me, so I think he was unlucky on that occasion. So I think brilliant, and the partnership they've had in these Europa games has been fantastic, and I think they complement each other so well, and is another great performance.
Yeah, a lot of these players, they're just saving their best performances for these big games right now, and it's such a joy to behold. It really is. And another player that is following that example is Destiny Udogie. 9s all round. unbelievable over the course of both legs, unbelievable over the course of the both legs in Frankfurt, against Frankfurt as well. And, you know, we said before the game, didn't we, that he really had the beating of their fullback. And I felt like he was just getting up and down that left-hand side like it was no one's business. Players pinging off him. He's just so physical, defensively so strong. Nothing got past him throughout the evening. And I just felt like he was just got a constant outlet on that left-hand side.
Yeah, another really strong showing from Destiny Udogie, who's been phenomenal in the last few weeks again in this Europa League. I think it's so great to see him back to his best like he has been, because he's been so hard to deal with. And I think down that left-hand side, nothing's getting past him, and he's a constant threat. He was really unlucky as well in that first half not to get an assist, because he had a really good ball across the face of goal and just avoided Brennan. The keeper just got a touch on it. But I thought he was kind of threatening to do that quite a few times in that game, and I think he's really helping supporting the left winger a lot better in recent weeks as well. And it's really great to see Udogie in this kind of form, because we know he's got it in him. But another fantastic game from him.
Rodrigo Bentancur, another player who is really stepping up in these Europa League games. Cindy gives him a 9. I gave him an 8. And yeah, he was everywhere, wasn't he, Bentancur? Literally everywhere. Anytime Patrick Berg or any player had it in the middle of the park, he must have been looking round his shoulder like, is there a bad smell there? Oh no, it's Bentancur, because he was always there, always winning the ball back, so aggressive, covering every blade of grass. And I've been such a heavy critic in terms of Bentancur in the big games prior to the Frankfurt, you know, against Liverpool and against Aston Villa. But it must be him just getting back to full fitness now, because you're seeing Bentancur putting in unbelievable displays now in this Europa League run. And I can't give him enough credit. And, you know, I was saying to you a couple of weeks ago, I probably would sell him, and I probably would not give him another contract. But I think he's earned it now with these performances in the Europa League, to be honest. And he's just got this, I don't know what it is. There's just some aura around him in these games where it's just like, he's like possessed. He's just running around, winning the ball back countless amount of times, charging us up the pitch. The guy's brilliant. He really is brilliant.
I think it really helps him having a double pivot next to him rather than a lone 6. I think we've seen a much better Bentancur when he doesn't have as much ground to cover. And I think yesterday was another example of that. And I thought what was really great was, first of all, how he kind of picks the pocket of the midfielders and the attackers when he's on the edge of the box. But also, when they play those balls to the byline and they're looking like they're getting in behind, he just cuts out those cutbacks really effectively. Same with Bissouma, who we'll get onto in a minute. But I thought they were both doing such a great job at doing that. And I think in the middle of the park, I thought he was doing an exceptional job, just patrolling it, covering the areas he needed to cover, making sure no one was getting past him, dominating physically. And I thought he was imperious yesterday. Another unbelievable showing, and I think there are definitely signs of him getting back to those levels we know he can reach. And it's taken time, but I think we're finally seeing it on a fairly consistent basis, especially in the Europa League.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to fathom, isn't it, a little bit, when he's had Bentancur and Bissouma, you know, over the course of the last 2 seasons. And we're only seeing them like really play together now and to a really high level.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, whenever they've played together previously, it hasn't worked, has it?
But I mean, previously, I don't think they ever played in a double pivot though, did they?
Yeah, it's true. And usually it was either I think Bissouma in the 6 and Bentancur in the 8. That's usually how it was.
Because he's played like Bentancur and Sarr in a double pivot before, but never with like Bissouma.
And maybe he's found something here.
Yeah, I think he has. And look, Bissouma's next. We're giving him 8s all round. There's no question about it. This is like Bissouma's best couple of games this season by far.
Remontada?
You know, I was just about to mention, like, could it be? Could it be? Because if you can play this like regularly with him and Bentancur on a double pivot, I mean, we just look so defensively sound with them there, like patrolling and protecting that back 4. Bissouma just seems to be so comfortable in that position, and he's able to get on the ball, he's able to turn and drive us forward a little bit, and like from a defensive standpoint, he's just gobbling everything up. I haven't seen Bissouma look this comfortable for so long.
And I guess the problem will be is when, I think in these games we've played against Bodo, we've clearly had a tactic to not have the ball, to give them 70% of the ball and stuff like that. When we come up against different kind of teams who give us the ball, is Bentancur and Bissouma going to be enough? I guess that's a question for another day. But I think Bissouma in this game, again, was so switched on, concentrating for the 90 minutes, doing the right things, helping out Bentancur. Bentancur was helping him out as well, complementing each other. On the ball, had that little bit of quality. Yes, I think both of them probably play a bit too safe on the ball, which, if they're going to take this double pivot partnership to the next level, they're going to have to be a bit braver on the ball. But I think by and large, in terms of doing the job that was required, it's away from home in a semi-final and we have a 2-goal lead, they played it to perfection on this occasion. And I think Basuma as well, fair play to him. He's been cast aside. He's been a player not fancied by Ange in recent weeks, not fancied by the fan base in recent weeks, come under a lot of criticism this season. But in the business end of the season, when we're in a semi-final and he's had to come in and step up due to injuries and things, he hasn't put a foot wrong and he's done phenomenally. And if he does in the final, if he does leave, he'll depart a hero.
Yeah, absolutely. Decky up next. Him gives him a 6. I gave him a 5. Unfortunately, I thought he was Spurs' poorest player on the day. Didn't really impact that much going forward, and he was casted with being the most creative player in that midfield 3, and I just don't think he did enough, to be honest. And I just felt like he's uncharacteristically weak on the ball at this moment in time, and he's just consistently getting shoved off it. And I don't know whether it's just that he's not at full fitness now and he's just not kind of at those physical levels, or he's just on really bad form. Maybe it's a bit of both, but he's just not playing well at the moment.
Yeah, we're definitely not seeing the best of him. That's definitely true. I think there are definitely signs of slight improvement, but more off the ball than maybe on the ball. He's not protecting the ball anywhere near the level he was. He's not really showing the quality on the ball in terms of his, chance creation and even shot shooting ability, all that kind of stuff. We're just not seeing that Decky that we know he's capable of for one reason or another. I did think off the ball, some of his pressing was really good, and I thought some of his movement was quite good as well. And it's been maybe a bit better than it was in previous weeks. But still, when he moved over to the right hand side for the last 20 minutes as well, and didn't really affect his game. Yeah, he's struggling. He's struggling to hit that form, and it's a concern, especially when we have no Maddison and no Bergvall going into that final. So let's hope he can start to hit some sort of level of performance going into that final over the next 2 games. But definitely at the moment, it's he's struggling, I think.
Brennan Johnson up next. Him gives him a 7. I gave him a 6. I mean, probably didn't have the required impact from an attacking output, in my opinion. But what I think he did really well, was his defensive work on the day yesterday. I thought he was helping out Pedro Porro on that right hand side consistently. And this is what I was saying to you before the game as well. Is like, this is what I want to see from Brennan Johnson coming into this game, because we saw it against Frankfurt in the away leg. And I think we've seen it again in the away leg here. I thought it was a brilliant defensive performance from Brennan. Yeah,
me too. And I think the way, as you said, the way he was tracking his fullback constantly. Every time it looked like the fullback was going to get past him, he kept just blocking that run, putting out for a throw, breaking up the play, blocking those passes as well. I think Brendan was doing a phenomenal job for the team. Yes, it wasn't maybe pretty at times. Yes, he could have been more involved offensively and creating chances and taking on his fullback and things that we always criticise him with. But no doubt about it, I think he did a massive role in just making sure that Bodo were nullified. And I think a big reason why they struggled to create chances was because of the stuff that Brendan and some of the other players were doing. So big up to him for doing a job for the team.
Richarlison up next. Him gives him a 7. I gave him a 6. I mean, he worked like an absolute dog, didn't he, Richarlison, out on the left-hand side. Again, like a bit similar to Brendan. I don't think he had the, required impact from an attacking perspective. But what he did do is just work tirelessly hard for the team. Definitely did a job for the team. However, going into the final, I would like to see maybe a Tell start out on that left-hand side. I do think he adds a bit extra from an attacking perspective, but look, did a great job for the team.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think definitely his position's up for grabs. I also kind of think the team overall is a lot more physical when he's in the team.
True.
And we just have that physical edge over the opponent, and that could be crucial in the final. But yes, I think he needs to be doing more when he gets chances on the ball to impact the game. And he had a number of chances, I felt. Probably even the one getting the most kind of chances to influence the game on yesterday. And more often than not, he's just his shot was blocked or his passing wasn't good enough. He had a nice few link-ups with the doggy down the left-hand side, which got a doggy in, and that was creating moments. But I think himself, our best outlet was Porro to Richarlison into space and then chances created. And I think he should be doing more from those moments, 100%, and he'll be a bit disappointed. There was actually one interesting moment just before he got taken off. He had a chance to take on his fullback and get shot off. He kind of screwed it up, and immediately Ange looked over the bench and said, "Tell you coming on." So I think maybe I was Ange getting a bit frustrated with him. But I think he was doing defensively a great job for the team again. And I think he's kind of stepped in well over these last 2 legs on the left-hand side, just doing a really good job for the team.
Yeah, there was one actually funny moment in the first half, I think it was, where the fans started singing his name. He was, because obviously we're very close to the pitch. Fans start singing his name, and the ball comes over to him, and then he just literally just hits the ball out of play, like completely uncontested or anything, and then like the song just literally stopped dead at that moment. Anyway, let's move on to Dom Solanke. Sim gives him a 9. I gave him an 8. Tireless performance from Dom Solanke. These are the performances that you know he can produce. Like literally, his pressing from the front gave us such an aggressive element to the game. His hold-up play as well, I thought, was really good, causing the defenders, to work so hard in the game. He was just literally like a bull in a china shop at times. Obviously, he got the goal, the first goal, which was a poacher's finish, but he just did not stop the whole game. He was, I couldn't like. I didn't see him at the end of the game, but surely he dropped down to his knees or his feet or just lay down on the ground, because the amount of effort he put into that game was mad.
Yeah, and I think, especially considering he was kind of in a race against time to be fit for this game, and he missed the weekend, to play 90 minutes at the level he did, I thought was astounding. I thought it was a fantastic number 9's performance. I think he held up the ball really well, dribbling really well. I thought he was winning free kicks at crucial times. Wasn't that much of a goal threat, but when he needed to be, he found a moment to a good striker's goal, poacher's goal, got on the end of that Romero nod down, and obviously got the opening goal, which was all crucial in the context of the tie. We needed to get that first goal to kill it, and he was the one who did it. And I thought, as you said, tireless, continuously making a nuisance of himself, charging players down, holding them up and winning free kicks. I just thought it was a near perfect target man display from Solanke. Really happy. And the fact he played 90 minutes at that intensity as well, off the back of an injury, was really, really great going.
Yeah. Substitutes, Matisse Tell, 7s all round for Tell, who came on for Richarlison into the second half. And I felt like he did add a bit extra from an attacking perspective. He looked very bright out on that left-hand side. It was his corner that forced the first goal as well. Look, I don't think it was unbelievable performance, but it was just bright, I would say.
Yeah, I think, well, it was 0-0 when he came on. I think we did add a bit of impetus when he did come on. It added a bit more edge and a bit of energy. I think we started to press a bit more aggressively after we started to wane a bit, I felt, in that in that first hour or so. So in the first 50 minutes of that second half, I think he obviously put the corner in for the opening goal, and I just thought we looked a bit more threatening when he was on the pitch. And obviously we got a lot of confidence from that goal as well, I felt. But I thought Tell had a nice little cameo. Wasn't giving the ball away as much as he usually does as well. Nice little passes, keeping attacks flowing. So yeah, a nice cameo from him.
Pape Matar, Sim gives him a 6. I gave him a 7. Look, I'm going to be brutally honest with this Pape Matar rating that I've given. I had no clue who was on the pitch till about 5 minutes to go, to be honest. I look on the pitch and I'm like, I turn around to Billy, I was like, when the hell did Pape come on? I had no clue that he came on. I don't know what he did on the pitch. So all I'm saying is I'm giving him a 7 just because of the occasion and the result that we got.
Yeah, it was a good cameo. I think it was a quiet cameo, so that's fair enough. You didn't notice it, but I think he just basically kept things simple, added a bit more energy in the middle of the park, and it was simple stuff. But yeah, it didn't do anything wrong really.
All right, and Ange Postecoglou, Sim gives him a 9. I give him a big fat 10. I got to give him so much credit because I give him enough stick throughout the season. So when he deserves the credit, I think it's well and duly deserved, to be honest. I thought yesterday he played an absolute blinder, threw the Bodo manager and team off completely with the tactics that they deployed. We were untouchable. The back four, the 2 players in midfield shielding it. They just were kept at arm's length for the whole of those 90 minutes. And to play in a semi-final when the fans had so much anxiety, saying, "Oh, that last goal in the end of the in the first leg, is going to put us under a lot of pressure." It did not come to that by any stretch of the imagination. You got to say, over the course of these 2 legs, we've been so comfortable in a European semi-final, and I got to give Andrew a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the way he managed the game, the way he approached the game, the team selection, the way he spoke to his players after the game, the substitutions, I thought was all fantastic from him. A near perfect managerial kind of showing from Ange Postecoglou. And I think, considering the circumstances, the mentality of this team, the history of this team, to make such light work of a semi-final in any kind of year or level, to make such light work of it is phenomenal work. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care who the opponent was. The fact that we didn't have pretty much any moments that got us scared or any moments we were under the cosh, and to be so comfortable and to be so in control and to do that while kind of changing your tactics a bit and adjusting things and giving possession away and having a tactical plan for the opposition, I think was a phenomenal job and a phenomenal result for Ange Postecoglou, and fully deserving of making the final. Let's hope he goes one more step and brings home the trophy. But I think the way he's kind of managed this Europa League campaign, especially in the second half of the season, has been absolutely fantastic. And the level of performance we're seeing is extremely good level at the moment. And I'm really, really excited about that 21st of May.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, everyone was talking about Bodo Glimt's threats in the middle of the park and how they can do this tiki-taka play around you. And just with Romero, Van der Ven, Bentancur and Basuma, the roles that he had them playing and the way he set it all up, it just nullified that all completely. And Bodo just could not play the game they wanted to play. So massive credit to the team, massive credit to Ange Postecoglou. And those are our player ratings for the semi-final second leg. Spurs are going to Bilbao.
Come on, people.
All right, let's go on to reacts and let's see how the internet did react to the game. I'm hoping there's going to be a lot here. First up is Joshua saying, before last night, you boys will be Spursy. They'll do you at their place. You'll bottle as per at full time. You played Bodo Glimt. Embarrassing if you didn't win. Goalposts are always moved when it's Tottenham. It's so true, though, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It is true. Yeah,
I agree with that. And like, if we would have had a tough time and been under the cosh, people saying, "Oh, you're so Spursy. Look what you're always going to find it difficult there." Everyone was saying, "Oh, you're going to find it very difficult there. It's going to be a hard game." But as soon as we make it comfortable and easy, it's like, "Oh, Bodo rubbish. It's be embarrassing not to win there." It's like, you can't have it both ways. Either it was going to be a tough game or it wasn't. You know what I mean? And I think we made light work of it.
And Tottenham are now the only team to stop Bodo Glimt from scoring in 2025.
Well, there you go as well. And I think, apart from the Carabao game, they'd won every game at home in the tournament this season. They've beaten some great teams, especially in the last round. They beat Lazio, a very good Lazio team. So, like, it shouldn't have been so easy. And I think it was partly us that made it easy. I think
it was all us that made it easy. Next up is Pionim saying, coming soon. That is Sonny lifting the Europa League, and we'll be there for it, man. We'll be there for it. I cannot wait.
Yeah, let's hope he recovers and is fit in time.
Whether he recovers or not, he'll still be lifting that trophy.
It was a shame he wasn't there last night. But
it was
hopefully, look, he was obviously there on the touchline for the first leg. So he was showing his face there. But let's hope he just is focusing on recovery and trusting the team to kind of get there, and so he's kind of fit in time for it.
ESPN FC saying, Man U versus Tottenham in the Europa League final, an all-English final in Bilbao. Can't wait. And look, there is a slight part of me that's just a bit disappointed that we are playing Man United, because, cast your mind back to 2019 when we played Liverpool. It was like, it didn't really feel like a European Cup final because we were playing an English side, and I think it will be a bit similar this time. However, if we win it, then who the hell cares?
Yeah.
But like we were talking about this on the car on the way in, but 3 of our 6 European finals have all been against English opposition, which is mad.
It's a weird quirk of it, but let's just get the job done. That's all I care about. What it feels like. Look, we're going to be playing in Bilbao, so hopefully that'll be enough of a feel of a European final.
Yeah. Tottenham on Football on TNT Sports says Tottenham Hotspur going through to the 2025 Europa League final. Love that. James Madison took to social media this morning and he said, gutted, just absolutely gutted. We've had our sights on that European final in Bilbao from day one of this campaign. So to accept not being able to take part out on the pitch with the boys. It's really tough to take. Injuries are just part of this game, and that can be so cruel at times, but I truly believe that it can be a special night for my football club. Bring on the 21st all together.
Yeah, and it is such a shame that he's not going to be part of it, because I think he's a big reason why we're here, with his form and what he was, his performances, and he would have been so important in the final, I think, as well. But gutted for him, but I'm sure he'll be there supporting the team, and let's hope we get the job done for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Spurs Express, a quote. Joystein Gunderson has said that Couto Romero told him after Spurs scored their first goal that he shouldn't talk so much.
And he was once saying Tottenham is not the best team in the world in defensive, with all due respect.
Yeah.
He was that defender. So they were all silenced hard yesterday. Hard. They went so big before the game. Their pressing is like an average Norwegian team. They were saying it's going to be different out in Bodo. They're going to be under the cosh. Their defense is not the best in the world. They're average. And then we just completely made light work of it.
Yeah. Look, they got caught with their pants pulled down, like some other person that we're going to have a look at in a second, which is Spurs Army says Jed Spence did Yves Bissouma dirty last night. And look at this is in the celebrations after the game. Bissouma's standing.
You need to blur this, or
Bissouma's standing in front of the away end on some barrier, and then Jed Spence just comes behind him and pulls his chin.
Oh, he's absolutely done him one. He is absolutely done him. Jed, he's a troublemaker, isn't he? That always said it. No, I'm joking. Big up to the team.
Tottenham Hotspur tweeted this out saying, "Louder."
What were you singing? You're probably there.
Yeah, I was there. I was right there.
Yeah, where are you? Where are you? You're probably in this video somewhere. You got a bit, aren't you?
There's Johnny, I can see.
Johnny H. You next to Johnny H?
No, there isn't.
Ah. Let me see if I can find you. There's Lallana.
I would have been over here somewhere.
On the left-hand side.
Someone.
I don't see Josh.
I don't think I'm in that video. I think I'm behind someone or something.
Shame. Anyway. Nice, good video. That was a chant that we haven't really heard since yesterday, no?
Nah, we've heard it, just not as kind of as constant as that. That's for sure.
Usually Spurs are on their way to Bilbao.
Yeah, they were singing that a little bit yesterday, but this one just was popping off the whole of the second half, literally from start to finish. It was actually mad. What's next? Tottenham Hotspur saying, "We tried to tell you," and we actually did bring this up when we saw the kit announcements at the beginning of the season. There was a little hidden message at the bottom there, and it said, "Holiday special, destination Bilbao, Spain." So Spurs were manifesting this right from the very beginning.
And we all were. We got our hotel a year in advance, manifesting this hard, and it's all come to fruition. Big up.
Love that. Simon Yemeni says, "Spurs haven't lost a match when Bissouma has shanked the ball away up into the stands." Opta.
It's fair to say he definitely hasn't had his shooting boots on over the past couple of games, despite some good performances.
Yeah. Tottenham also tweeted out saying, "Bilbao, mate."
Love that. Look at that smile.
Tottenham social media was on full form yesterday.
Absolutely. The only shame I would say, I was watching the celebrations, and it is a bit of a shame that didn't give a bit more love for Ange. I did feel that he was kind of hanging back a bit. Maybe Ange felt like he just wanted to give the players all the praise and stuff. And hopefully, if we do win that final,
he looked delighted, Ange.
No, he was. Of course, he was happy.
Delighted.
But I'm just saying, it's a shame that the fans didn't give him maybe a bit more love. So I was just chanting for him because.
Well, I tell you what, though, like the fans didn't even sing players' names either.
Yeah, fair.
It was literally just the Spurs are going to Bilbao song. Like no players' names were sung at all, really.
Fair. I guess it was a conscious decision from Ange to kind of hang back a bit because he wasn't. He got involved in the celebrations right at the beginning. He was hugging all the players, but he wasn't like right there when it was all like he kind of he kind of hangs back a bit.
I didn't really notice. I was just like in my element. I just like I didn't know what was flying at that moment in time.
But I'm hoping we sing I'm loving Big Ange instead in Bilbao. I really hope so.
If we win it, then we should definitely sing it, in my opinion. Tottenham Hotspur, the vibes are vibing right now, and this is in the dressing room in Bodo. Bissouma just seems to have that fun back in him, doesn't he?
Yeah, 100%. And that's what you love to see with Bissouma, because when he's not in this kind of mood, then he's not being himself. And I love it when Bissouma's being himself. That's when he's at his most fun. And you saw that elements last season when we were playing well, when he was the life of the dressing room. We haven't seen that in a while.
He literally is like usually when he's in the team and he's playing well, he's like the life and soul of that dressing room, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. And look at that, the celebrations when the picture was taken. I love Mikey Moore getting involved. Love that. Come on, Mikey. Oh, it's great. It's great stuff.
Tottenham again tweeting vibes in the dressing room, and this is the pictures that were taken on
I got the Polaroid.
Or something.
Love that. And you got to remember how young this team is. Like, think about in our squad.
Yeah.
Who's been to a European final in our squad? In their career,
none of them.
Did Bentancur maybe get there with Juve, or was that too early for him?
When was Juve's?
2017.
Not sure.
That might have been too early for him. Has anyone? Is this everyone's first European final?
Must be. It must.
Romero's been to obviously other finals.
Yeah, but I'm talking about club European.
Yeah, club European final.
So Bentancur was at Juve. He joined Juve 17-18 season.
So it was too late for him then.
Yeah. He was at Boca still at that point. So in terms of European final, I don't know. No,
Basuma said it was his first one. Obviously, Maddison's never been to a European final. Son? When was he in the European final?
2019.
Yeah, 2019. Okay.
Ben Davis.
And Ben Davis. So Son and Ben Davis, the only two players in the whole squad, and they were at Tottenham. Unbelievable. Yeah. What? No one else has been to a European final. Anyone in the chat? Is anyone in our squad been to a European final?
Maybe Mikey Moore was in the stands. Who knows?
Michael was in the stands. That's mad. The only two players have been European final, Son and Davis, and that was at Tottenham. No one's been outside of it. So that's my point being, there's one experience this is for this young team.
Yeah.
Like, this is something that a lot of them haven't been through before.
Yeah, absolutely. Spurs Army saying, look at Matisse Tell in that away end, a stark contrast to obviously him running into the away end at Fulham.
Yeah, it's so true. And as well, like, what he said there rings true. He said after Fulham game, he was saying, we're trying, we all need to stick together, we all need to be together. And now look where we are, and it's
all together,
and we're all together, exactly. And it's now completely switched. So big up to Tell. He wasn't hiding at that point when we were losing that game and stuff like that. He was the one, took it upon himself, and he was the first one to celebrate as well. So both times he was the first one there.
Yeah.
Is he going to stay? That's the question. Is he feeling the love? Is he feeling the love?
He's definitely feeling the love. It's just a question of, are we going to get a deal done? Do we feel like this is the way forward? I don't know. Look, this is decisions that we have to make at the end of the season. But I'm sure if he scores the winner out in Bilbao, that will make that decision maybe a little bit more easier. But it was brilliant celebrations there. Basuma leading it all, and Pedro Porro. So passionate.
He loves it. Yeah,
Porro
loves it. Come on.
Next up, this is Richarlison and his celebration in the away. Just scroll down and just look at that.
Phenomenal picture. Oh, Rishi's loving it. Fantastic. And I think, I'm glad he's kind of come in late into the season and made an impact, because he might well leave in the summer. There's a good chance that's going to happen. And if he can kind of have this little bit of positive kind of impact on his way out, that would just mean he kind of leaves his mark on this club. Whereas if it didn't happen, there's a chance he could have just left without really anyone caring that much. But it would be great.
Robbie Keane on social media after the game saying, come on you Spurs, final it is. That's Spurs official.
Big up Robbie Keane.
What Robbie Keane would do to play European final with Spurs.
Shame it never happened with us. But obviously he was the last player to win a trophy for us, one of the co-captain with Ledley. Yeah. So big up to Robbie.
And, remember how emotional he was after that day, crying on the pitch, going absolutely mad.
Absolutely.
Probably out of everyone on the team that day, he was probably the most emotional out of all of them.
I remember.
Football away days. The 404 Tottenham fans in Norway in great voice watching their team reach a European final. Fair play to them. And
the flags there.
Exactly. The scarves just made it optically really nice, didn't it?
Yeah. Where are you? You got to be. Surely you can see. No, maybe not. It's phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal stuff there. There you are. Is that not you in the hat? I see. There's a guy in a woolly hat there. I see.
I think a lot of people.
Here, that's you. No, that's got to be you. That's got to be you.
I think that is me.
That's obviously I've spotted you in that video.
That's exactly where I was.
Yeah, that's you. Just jumping up and down in your woolly hat. Love it.
So I was with Billy, for the second half.
Billy Cairns,
I was with Billy, and at some point during the second half, he turns around to me, He goes, we need to do this in Bilbao. Sim was with me in Frankfurt. We got through. I'm with you in Bodo. We got through. So one of you has to sit with me for the final.
We both will. We both will.
Kevin Danso loving it after the game.
He must be loving life, coming home from Lens, and now
Exactly,
he
nearly moved to Wolves as well.
And now he finds himself in a European final. Loving life. Big up, Kevin.
Tom, Levy on Amazon ordering those Casios.
Europa League finalist. He's getting it ready. He's getting it prepared. Don't you dare, Levy. Don't you dare.
Premier League panel saying Trent Alexander-Arnold light. Well, now Trent's leaving the Premier League.
Best ball playing right back in the league.
It's got to be, no?
Well, since he's come into the Prem, he's got more goal contributions than Trent.
Which is crazy, actually.
Which is mad, no?
Yeah.
Absolutely mad. So, mate, Porro he's so underrated and underappreciated, man. I think he's phenomenal. He is absolutely phenomenal. I don't think Arrival fans realise how good he is. I really don't.
Keep it that way. Next up is Spurs Army Vicario via his Instagram story.
Love it.
I don't know if you noticed right at the end of the vlog, Vicario's mum makes a cameo. Did you see it?
Really? No, I didn't notice. Where was it?
In the vlog outside the stadium. So
You said hi to her.
it wasn't that I said hi to her. She just comes walking out by herself, and more or less all the fans have dispersed. I'm just still with a few there, just celebrating, and she's running down, going Vicario, Vicario. It's so funny.
Oh, phenomenal! Go watch it on the vlog. That's phenomenal.
Oh, it's brilliant. I'll put it on social media after this. It's actually so funny. Spurs pictures that go hard. This is the next one.
That's when they knew the job was done.
Yeah.
Destiny. What a leap.
No context Tottenham. This is Richarlison with one of the scarves that were thrown down to him.
Fantastic. I saw on the video as well with I think it's a video you took when we were seeing when the Spurs came marching in. You got Solanke just belting it out. He's got his hands up belting out.
Porro
it's so
was
great.
as well.
Porro, fantastic.
Spurs pictures that go hard. This is Mickey van der Ven, full in celebration yesterday.
So good. Fantastic. I've definitely noticed since he's come back in, there's something different about him. I don't know what it is.
That different running style, mate.
Yeah, probably. I'm not do you laugh. There's probably something to do with that, but definitely he's not doing as many runnings in behind and stuff like that. Maybe it's because he's not forced to, but there's definitely something.
It's with the tactics we deployed in general.
Yeah, I think there's definitely got something to do with it for sure. But I think as well, stuff I can see he's doing different things. Like he's not putting himself in positions where he has to run as much for sure.
Do you think that is a reason? Maybe not the full reason, but an element to the reason why we've shifted into this tactical setup because of Van der Ven as well.
What? So he doesn't get injured?
Yeah. I wouldn't say fully and solely because of that, but an element to it.
Probably. I think maybe we kind of relied on his running too much, and we're now thinking, we can rely on it a bit, but maybe not as much as we were. Yeah, we can't rely on it as much as we were, and maybe forcing him to do a bit too much running for sure. But I think he's looking so much more solid. You don't look like he's going to get injured anytime soon. Touch wood. But I think definitely recently him and Romero whenever they played together, I think we've looked great. I can't think of a bad performance apart from maybe Chelsea away. Yeah. Every time they've played together recently, we've looked great.
Yeah. Tottenham saying, get in, we're going to Bilbao.
We're getting in the car, mate, come on.
Spurs Watch saying 8th of May 2019, 8th of May 2025, Tottenham are once again in a European final.
It's mad, it's
in the green kit.
6 years to the day, how mad is that?
I know.
How mad, it's crazy. Fantastic though. God, so much has changed.
Does any of the current 11 there get into that team? To the 2019 team, probably.
Only the current 11, yeah. Get into that 2019 team, I would say. Well, that's not the team. Well, maybe Van der Ven or Romero, one of those two. Because you got to remember, in that year, Toby and Jan were waning already. Maybe a doggy, because that Rose wasn't the best Rose, maybe. Porro, maybe over Trippier potentially. What else? In that 2019 team, Bergvall maybe?
Bentancur over Sissoko or something like that?
Yeah, Bentancur. Not that many players, I guess.
Yeah.
So
It's actually mad when you look at it that team got to a Champions League final.
Yeah.
Because
crazy.
Because like Trippier wasn't great that season. Danny Rose was like towards the end, like he really wasn't great that season. Toby Alderweireld and Jan Vertonghen, you know, they were waning as well. Lloris as well. You know, all these players were kind of coming to the end of a cycle.
And they pretty much dragged themselves to that Champions League final. It was a phenomenal achievement.
Yeah. Next up is Tottenham Hotspur again tweeting out. This is Solanke's anime celebration.
The Dragon Ball Z was out. It is. Love it. Fantastic. Go on.
This next one is Solanke has delivered big games for Tottenham this season. 2 goals against Man United in the Carabao Cup quarterfinals, an assist versus Liverpool in the semi-final, 2 assists versus Alkmaar in the Europa 16, goal versus Frankfurt in the quarters, goal versus Bodo, and a goal versus Bodo in the first and second leg.
Also, it goes under the radar. It's what, 4 goals in a row now? 4 games in a row.
Is that right?
Yeah? No, because he scored against Frankfurt. For him, in terms of when he started. When he started, it's 4 goals in a row because you got to go to Frankfurt.
Yeah, Bodo, Liverpool, and Frankfurt.
Yeah, 4 goals in 4 starts.
Yeah.
So he's on great form.
Yeah, he is. And, you know, we were all kind of like worried, well, when are the goals going to start to come? And I guess it's kind of coming under the radar because, like, you wouldn't have thought, like, he scored in his last 4 starts.
Yeah, they're coming at the right time.
Yeah. Spurs pictures that go hard again. This is the Solanke celebration with his little Dragon Ball Z anime, whatever you want to call it. Nathan Clark says, I look forward to another Europa final when we'll know whether this has been by far the best or by far the worst Tottenham season in 40 years.
Our whole season comes down to one game. It's crazy.
It's mad though, because it literally
our best or worst
or the worst ever in one game.
All comes down. That's just classic Tottenham, isn't it? I mean, incredible. It's mad how this is how the season's going to be judged and ends. But it's that's the reality. That's where we are. That's where we're at.
But that's it. That is how the internet did react to the semi-final yesterday, and I'm still like struggling to catch my breath from last night, to be honest. It's been quite of a whirlwind of a 24 hours. Quickest like away European trip I've ever been, like quickly in the morning, out in the evening, out straight after the game.
How do you like it? Do you like being in and out, or you prefer a couple of days?
I mean, I would have liked to have gone back to the pub yesterday and carry the celebrations into the night, but to be honest, as soon as I got on that plane, I absolutely conked the hell out. So, look, it was nice. It was nice. Really well organised from Sport Options. So, big up to them. But that is that from the game yesterday. But it is time to look forward to this game on the weekend, which, yeah, it's hard to do after kind of what we've just had to go through in the last 24 hours.
Also,
we do have a game to talk about.
We do, but Ange hasn't done his presser today. He's doing it tomorrow at 9:15.
Yeah.
So we won't know like team news and stuff ahead of this game.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess we'll start off with a predicted lineup, and let's go from what we kind of know already. Look, more things come to light tomorrow, but I don't think anyone did get injured in the game yesterday. So what do we know?
Yeah, it didn't look like it. All we know is that there's a chance Son may get some minutes on the weekend. That's what Andrew was saying. So he's kind of a doubt. But we know for sure that Maddison, Dragusin and Bergvall are all definitely injured. So they're not going to be available. They're long-term injuries. I think all 3 of them, their seasons are over. Other than that, it didn't look like anyone else was struggling with anything. Although the bench was starting to look worryingly thin last night, wasn't it? A bit, so that's got a bit of a concern. But I think those are the only players out, it looks like. Potentially, hopefully Son gets some minutes.
Yeah, you're starting to see all the kids back on the bench again, which is a bit of a worrying sign. But look, let's try and make a stab of what we think this team is going to be. So are we going to see Kinski in goal finally?
Are we going to see Kinski in goal? Is this going to be the game? Still don't think so, unfortunately.
No, it'll be Vicario in goal, who hasn't been great in the Premier League. But
I actually think what will happen is Kinski might actually play the last game of the season after the final.
Maybe, yeah.
That's what I think.
So look, Vicario in goal. In terms of right back, are we going to see Archie Gray there? Or are we going to see Spence there? Porro keep his place? What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think it's going to be Gray. I think
Gray.
he's been playing Gray there for the last couple of games. So it looks like he's fancying more.
Last game, I think.
Well, we played him there against Wolves and against West Ham.
Well, Wolves was a while ago, but yeah.
No, Wolves, West Ham, and in midfield he played against Liverpool, didn't he?
Yeah.
So I think he took him back to midfield, so back to the fullback. So I think he's going to play at fullback. That's my prediction.
Yeah, so I mean, Gray at right back, right centre back will be Danso.
Yeah, Danso comes in for sure.
Left centre back will be Ben Davis.
Mm-hmm.
And left back will be Jed Spence.
Our trusted B team back line.
Yeah, so that was the exact back line against West Ham, the exact same. So Archie Gray right back, Jed Spence left back, Ben Davis and Danso as the centre back pairing. Moving into the midfield is where it gets a bit tricky. Well, we don't have too many options, so maybe it's not too tricky.
Well, the one we definitely know is Sarr.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's definitely going to be playing that. So it's who's next to him. I guess probably Decky in the 10. Can't really see anyone else. So it's basically it's where it's going to be Bentancur, Basuma next to him. And last game went for Basuma.
Do you feel like he could give Basuma a rest this game just because he's played 2 back-to-back games?
And
Play
Bentancur got a rest
Bentancur.
last time.
Yeah, play Bentancur in this game and then give Bentancur a rest on the Friday.
And play Basuma.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good shout, to be honest. I think he's probably going to start Bentancur in this one. And you'll start Basuma on Friday with the same other 2.
Yeah, so a midfield 3 of Sarr, Bentancur and Kulusevski. On the right-hand side of the attack, I do think it's going to be Odebear.
I agree. I think Wilson starts.
On the left, I've got a feeling it'll be Tell, but it would be nice to see Mikey Moore, but I think it'll be Tell, with Mikey Moore getting some minutes off the bench.
I think the only way maybe we see more from the start is if we play Tell up front, potentially, with Rishi maybe now entering that 18. But
I don't think he likes Tell up front, to be honest.
no, I don't think he likes Tell up front either. So I think Tell will get more minutes on that left-hand side.
And then up front, it's either Solanke or Richarlison. And look,
Or Diamond Dane.
No, I don't think it will be Dane. I think it will be Richarlison, to be honest, because I think Solanke just put so much into that game.
He played 90 minutes as well.
Yeah, and Richarlison has come off early in the last couple of games. Yeah, I think it'll be Richarlison up top.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's going to be the lineup. Who leaves who on the bench? You've got the likes of Solanke.
So it leaves
Brennan
on the bench.
Moore.
So the bench against West Ham was Ajayi, Bentancur, so Basuma this time, Brennan Johnson, Kinski, Moore, Porro, Romero, Udogie, Van der Ven.
Okay.
And maybe Son.
And maybe Son, maybe Son on the bench would be really, really nice to see him get some minutes.
Yeah.
Which would mean probably Mikey definitely doesn't get minutes though, but yeah, we need Son. We need Son to get back up to speed as soon as possible.
You never know though, Mikey could also come on right wing.
True. He could.
So look, this is the team that we're going to go for to face Crystal Palace on Sunday, which is Vicario in goal, Gray right back, Spence left back, Davis and Danso in the centre back pairing, Sarr, Bentancur and Kulusevski as a midfield 3, Odebear on the right, Tell on the left, and Richarlison up top. It's not the weakest team.
No, it's a team that we've pretty much been playing in most of the Premier League games. Hasn't really been great, but maybe they're starting to get a bit of cohesion because they've been playing together so regularly. Let's hope.
Maybe, but yeah, look, as the Premier League just goes on, it's just like it's gathering less and less importance as these games go on, aren't they?
Exactly, and that's the reality.
And I think like, as fans were getting angry prior to maybe the Bodo first leg or the Frankfurt second leg, I just feel like after the West Ham game, there were hardly any angry fans.
Yeah.
It was just like, it is what it is now. And I think this game will be the exact, probably even less so.
Yeah, I agree. I think, to be honest, I think both Tottenham and Palace are probably feeling this game is just something we have to get through.
I reckon it could be like 0-0 this game.
Yeah, it could easily just be like both teams just want to play this out because both teams, the number one thing for both teams is no injuries.
Yeah.
More important than the result.
So look, yeah, like you said, so what is there to even like preview about this game, to be honest? Because it's like two teams with absolutely nothing to play for. Spurs got a Europa League final to get ready for. They've got an FA Cup final to get
next
ready
week?
for.
When's the FA Cup? Is it after? Is it the weekend after the Europa League? Is
I
that
think
when it is?
so. Yeah, I think so.
So, yeah, they do not want to be getting any injuries in this.
This is
one.
their last game before the FA Cup final.
Yeah. Oh, so for sure, this is just a game that both sets of fans like. Do you want to just agree on a sort of share point? Agree?
Like,
shake
no
hands?
one's going to be going into the 50-50s. No one's going to be being overly aggressive in this game. No one's going to be overly exerting themselves. I would say probably if both teams are going to make a lot of changes, then maybe the new players coming in trying to fight their way into that FA Cup final team or Europa League final team. So maybe you'll see an element of that in there. But I still feel like you're going to see most players pulling out of 50-50s and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm just seeing if Glasner has said anything about him resting players or anything like that for this game. All I can see is he said Wharton has been ruled out, but I'll see if I can get any quotes from him if he said anything about changes. But this is a massive, it's a massive game for them. This is probably as big for Palace as the Europa League final is for us.
Yeah,
and I think
maybe even bigger. Like, when's the last time they were in an FA Cup final?
Well, it wasn't that long ago actually, because Pardew, remember, Pardew did that silly dance. The silly dance. So that was in 2016. They lost to Van Gaal, I think. Van Gaal's Man United. So I think, Palace are not gonna. I agree. It's going to be a game where just both teams don't want any injuries. They're going to be very cautious, I think. Yeah, I agree. Maybe some of them, if Palace are going to rest players, then I think a lot of those players probably want to win their place in the final team and will give it their all. Maybe same with some of the Spurs players. But if you're looking at the terms of the decisions that Ange will probably have to make ahead of the final, it's really only the winger positions probably that's up for grabs. You'd have to say. I think all the other positions are really on lock at the moment.
Yeah, I totally agree. Is there a chance that if Sarr has some top performances in the next couple of games that he can take Basuma's spot?
Yeah, I guess there's a case for it. Maybe Sarr could win a spot if he really kills it over these next two games. But even then, in a final, do you trust that the more experienced head of Basuma, or do you go with Sarr? It's a difficult one, but because Basuma's played well. But yeah, for sure, I guess that's another one that's probably up for grabs. Those three. I
think it's mainly the wingers, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I think for sure, Odegaard and Tell by no means are they out of the running for starting in that game. Considering as well, that Johnson and Rishi did quite well, but they didn't do well enough where you can say they're locked in by any stretch. Yeah. And I think if Tell and Odegaard have really strong performances, I think there's a good chance they can make that team for the final.
I do think actually Brennan Johnson is going to be nailed on for the final. Not because of what he... First of all, in a final, to have someone with his positional play and the way he can arrive at the box at a perfect time, that's invaluable. But the two away legs, the defensive performance that he's put in, I don't think Odegaard is capable of that. You know what I mean? And he's not capable of scoring as many goals in the season. It's just not something we've seen of him as of yet. So I do think Brendan Johnson is probably nailed on for the team, to be honest.
Yeah, I think his team his position is pretty strong at the moment. I wouldn't say he's as nailed on as say like a Bentancur or a, Romero, Van der Ven, a Doggy, Porro, these kind of players. But
he's more nailed on than Richarlison. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. He's like. Right now, I think Odegaard is going to have a really strong showing to convince Ange to knock him off. Whereas, someone like Tell, he has to just be good. I don't think he has to absolutely kill it to maybe win that spot. Whereas Odegaard, I think maybe does.
And looking at the Palace team to see if they do make a lot of changes, their starting 11 is pretty nailed on. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They don't have that much out of their starting 11. The only one who I can see putting his all into this game is someone like Eddie Nketiah. Because there's a good chance that he'll start. Mateta's not really playing that well at this moment in time. So I can see Eddie Nketiah actually having a really good game this weekend. Yeah,
I agree. And I think he's one, obviously, to watch out for. It's hard to, we're looking at, the form at the moment. It's hard to, how much that makes a difference, the form table and all that kind of stuff last 5 games. Although, in a weird way, Palace actually haven't been in the best form recently.
Well, if you bring up the form table, we've got better form in the last 5 games. That takes into account Europa League and their FA Cup. I mean, that win, was that an FA Cup win? Must have been.
Yeah.
And both our wins are Europa League wins. So league form ain't looking too good. But their away form, 1 win in the last 5 in away. We've won 3 out of our last 5 games at home. If you're going just on the form, then we have got better form going into it, but it's just I just feel this is going to be a draw, to be honest. I just can't. You predicted a draw, I predicted a Palace win, but I just didn't take into account that this was their last game before the FA Cup final.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And now you take that into account. just both teams are just going to be like pulling out of everything, and maybe only the players like Eddie Nketiah, Ben Chilwell, people like that, you know, trying to stake a claim. But it's just going to be a poor game of football.
Yeah, that's what I envisage. I don't see it being full-blooded. I don't see either team really going for it. I think it's just going to be a game where both, look, similar to maybe the West Ham Tottenham game, both teams just looking like they're just going through the motions a bit and wanting the game to be over before it's begun, kind of thing. And I think that's how we're probably going to approach it. And I can see them as well, probably even more so. The only fact is, a few of these players who are starting for us are trying to, I guess, win their place in the final for the Europa League. So maybe there'll be some players up for it. But I think by and large, when the whole team isn't there, it's hard for just one or two players to make that kind of an impact on the whole team.
In terms of the head-to-head, it does look pretty good for Spurs. We've won 4 out of the last 5 games. However, the one loss was the last time we played them.
It wasn't a great showing, that one.
No, it wasn't. And I don't expect this to be much better, to be honest, on Sunday. But look, there's just not much you can read into just because of all the different factors.
Yeah, in terms of the head-to-heads, we have a good record against them, but I don't think it makes too much of a difference going into Sunday. Obviously, last year we did the double over them, but yeah, we were poor at Selhurst Park early in the season. They really did a good job on us, and obviously that was their first win of the season when they beat us, and they've really gone on strength to strength since then, up until recently in the league anyway. But now they got a really good shot at the winning that FA Cup, so which would be an unbelievable achievement for them, and Glasner as well. What a job he's done there. He's a phenomenal manager, Glasner, and I think if he wins that FA Cup, if there wasn't already, there's going to be even more teams maybe looking at him thinking maybe he can take a next step because he's done such a great job.
Apparently RB Leipzig are sniffing around for him this summer.
He can, obviously he's managed in Bundesliga before.
Frankfurt
won the Europa League, so the guy's a great manager. And the way as well, like he's just gone through not similar to Ange, but in a different sense. But he's gone through this season a lot of adversity, losing Elise, starting the season in the manner they did, and turning it around in the way that he has. It's so impressive.
Yeah. Just want to apologise to everyone out there looking for a really insightful match preview. There's just not much. I guess
one thing to chat about is obviously the protests going to be before the game, and there's going to be protests supposedly at halftime as well. I don't know if that's still going ahead or not.
Emily Damari coming home as well.
But she's coming home before the game. She said they're holding an event, but in terms of those protests, off in the week we've made it to a major European final. What do you think of the timing of the protests?
Obviously, I'm a person that massively backs the protests, but I just feel like it's not going to get as much traction this weekend than maybe it would have done if we lost, or it would have done maybe a week ago or 2 weeks ago.
Is it right to do it on just a couple days after making a European final?
Yes and no. I think it's right because I think the message is still the same and the message should keep being the same. However, I just feel like fans are just going to want to just be in party mode, really, as opposed to just like protesting down the high road, I do believe like nothing changes for me qualifying for the Europa League final in terms of where we're at with the ownership, but
winning the Europa League final,
I don't think that will change much either because, it's great to win the Europa League final, but I don't think that changes the way that Daniel Levy and Enoch have, continued to run the club, in my opinion anyway. But, we're saying that we've even got the messages about the summer saying, buy to sell and, there's not that much money there and all that kind of stuff, which signals that how can these guys take this club any further forward? Like what are we doing? You know what I mean? Like how can we go to the next level if we can't afford to buy players?
Do you reckon? Is there any chance that's just a message from the club? Maybe just
you'd hope so.
Bargaining chip.
You'd hope so, but we'll have to wait and see until the summer, won't we? We can't tell that now.
Yeah.
But, look, I do think the timing's a little off, to be honest. I'm not going to lie. I do think it's a little off, but I would say maybe not necessarily before the game, but I think doing a halftime walkout,
to the what kind of message I send to players who've just on a high after making that European final, and then they're all of a sudden they come into the stadium and there's a halftime walkout, basically showing your dissatisfaction for them. Essentially, is a message they're getting.
I think you need to make it clear it's to the board and not the players, and I think.
But you can't in that scenario when you're doing a halftime walkout. It's hard to separate the two.
I disagree because I think the players will be fully aware of what it's for and what it's about. The players as well themselves have had their own problems with the board, and a few players have mentioned it in interviews and stuff like that. So I do think there's that element to it. The players are going to get a massive reception, hopefully anyway, at the beginning of the game. I think they would have. They know that the full club. You saw the atmosphere at Bodo. So I think the players know full well that the fans are 100% behind the team right now. But they also know there's another element to it that, fans are not happy with the board. A lot of players are probably not happy with the board as well. So I don't think they'll mind it too much.
I hope not. I just, is there...
And I don't think it impacts anything anyway.
Shouldn't do. Look, I just hope not. It's just, there's a little element of would some players not be happy with fans kind of doing that just a few days after? Is there a chance that some players could take it the wrong way, in the sense that it's a few days after?
What other way can they take it?
That they're not happy with the players, in a sense. They're not happy with. They're dissatisfied with, obviously, and maybe rightly so, with how the season's gone. But you're basically walking out at half time a few days after we've gotten to a European final, and maybe some players are looking at it and thinking, we've just got to a European final and you're walking out on us at half time, was getting to that European final not enough for you, kind of thing. And some players might take it that way, and I hope they don't, and hopefully they read it in the way that it should be read, which is it's an attack on the board.
I don't really think so. I think the players don't live under a rock. They would have seen stuff on social media. I think they'll be fully aware of what's going on.
Yeah, I hope you're right. You probably are right. You probably are right. I'm just hoping that doesn't happen, and nothing negative.
It'll be extremely strange, for it to be directed at the players after what happened on Thursday night. You know what I mean? It'll be extremely strange, and I don't think the players will think that way. I just can't see it. Can you?
No, I think the likelihood is they won't. They'll probably be aware of it. I'm just saying if some are, maybe some aren't or whatever, maybe there's a chance that some will take it that way.
And I just can't see it, man. I can't see it. And they're professional enough anyway to move past that kind of thing, and they've been dealing with this kind of stuff all season, haven't they? It's not just, this won't be the first time. Maybe it's the first time of a half-time walkout or whatever, but there's been protests, big protests for the last couple of months. And, the Premier League games haven't been good enough, and they've dusted themselves off and performed in the Europa League game. So I fully expect it to be the same.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it's just an interesting dynamic having these protests, which, some fans will say, has a bit of, causes a bit of negativity around in terms of the club. You got which I understand. I understand I think the protests are right in general. I think that your fans have a right and are right to protest what's going on at the club right now. But I would also say doing it a few days after we've got to European final, I don't know how I feel about it, to be honest. It's a bit of a weird one. You're basically protesting how the club is run, and you're saying all these, how bad everything is. Yeah, we've just gotten to a European final. Yeah. And this could be the best day. We're basically potentially on the cusp of the best day in our Spurs supporting lives. And we're protesting, saying things aren't good enough and everything's wrong and everyone needs to leave, when we could be on the cusp of our best ever day.
Yeah, but then on the flip side of that, you've just said in the same sentence that you agree with the protests. So.
I understand. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with it. I'm just saying it's just a weird one there in terms of optically.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you to a certain extent. And I was speaking to someone after the Bodo game last night, someone that's always at the protests. And I said to him, so, protest on Sunday, are you going? And he was like, nah, I don't think I'll go this time. But then by the end of the sentence, he was like, yeah, I'm going. So, I don't know. I just can't see it being as big as maybe previous protests because of what happened last night.
In when we got to the Champions League final, if I remember correctly, in Ajax, Daniel Levy came out, didn't he? On the pitch when we were celebrating the players.
Yeah.
What kind of reaction would he get if he did the same in Bilbao, do you think, if we won it?
I don't think people would react negatively, to be honest. I don't think people would take too much notice of it. I think they'll just be celebrating their life away. We've just won a trophy. I don't think anyone's going to take too much notice of Levy coming on the pitch.
Yeah, I just wonder, because if you're saying nothing changes towards the board, you still have that same animosity towards him, regardless of whether we win the trophy or not. I just wonder whether he comes and wants to basically share in the credit and adulation of winning that trophy, whether that would rub some people the wrong way.
In my opinion, as much as I don't back the board and I would like change and all that kind of stuff, on days like cup finals, on days like semi-finals, particularly a second leg, when you get through, like these kind of days, everyone needs to be together. No matter whether you like them, you don't like them. If you're working for Tottenham Hotspur, you're a fan of Tottenham Hotspur, everyone in that moment in time has to be all together. So I don't think that there should be any animosity of a day of a cup final, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
But come first day of the season, we're back, baby.
Yeah, I do. To be honest, I don't think he would risk it, to be honest, Daniel. But be interesting to see what would happen. I mean, obviously it's a bit of a tangent now, but I do wonder what would happen if he did. Yeah. But I don't think he's going to risk it. I think it was obviously less risky when he did it in the Champions League. There was not much pushback against him, but now it's obviously completely different. Yeah, in this day and age, so it's very, very, very different.
I think then there was still like an element of it, but nowhere near as fierce as it is now.
No, I think before it was probably a minority, you would say. Now it's not a minority.
Would you say it's a majority now that Levy out?
It's tough to say because social media, warps a lot of perceptions. But I would say, like, before, it was like, who were really Levy out when, like, back in 2019, it was like 15%, maybe 10-15%. And now it's at least half, you would say.
If you want to judge it on like away ends, right? Because they're, got to say, the most loyal fans that go home and away every week. I think you can gauge it quite well whilst being in an away end in terms of 3,000 fans. Is it a majority of that 3,000 fans or a minority of those 3,000 fans? And I do think from an away end perspective, it is a majority.
Yeah, it's hard to know if away ends are the best way to judge it because they're a very specific kind of demographic of fan a lot of the time. Fans who've been going for a long time. Most will have been going for many, many years. So do they represent the majority of the Spurs fan base? It's hard to say.
Do they represent the hardcore fan base?
Yeah, that's true. But still, is that a majority of the fan base? Like, yeah, look, I don't know if they do, but I think for sure, like, they represent fans who know the club inside out. I think a lot of the time, for sure, I would agree with that. But not all fans are as in it as Tottenham fans who go home and away. You know what I mean? You can still you can watch the game every week and stuff like that, but doesn't mean you're like as like in it like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the fans that are not in it as like that are like less inclined to go out and protest and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly, but in terms of what's the majority of fans, the majority of fans like the Tottenham away fans or just fans who kind of watch the game and then get on with their life. You know what I mean? Unlike us who just get consumed by it for like all the time.
That's well, if you're just going to watch the game and get on with your life, then depends what you call a fan, right? I don't know.
I'm not saying they're not a fan. That's my point. They are a fan in my opinion, but I don't know.
It's hard to gauge it, but if you're going to talk about match-going fans, I'm talking about match-going fans, hardcore fans. When you're in an away end, it does feel like from those sets of fans, it is the majority. Mm-hmm. That's all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
Score prediction?
After all that, 1-0. I said 1-0 before. I'm going to stick with it. We'll get a goal, an early goal. Bodo will score after a mistake from their defender. Tell will make a tackle.
Go through
and then
Vicario.
then Eze will nutmeg Vicario, and then it'll end 1-1.
Yeah, I'm going to go 0-0. To be honest, I don't think.
0-0.
Yeah, I think
Gone
it's going
for
to be
it.
nil. Is this like
Crap.
would be our first 0-0 of the season over here? Over here, I had
We
one.
don't really do 0-0s, do we?
No.
I'm trying to think. Surely we haven't had a 0-0. No way. I don't think we've had a 0-0.
This one's going to be 0-0. And it's going to be a boring game. I'm going to be there to witness it. Very much looking forward to it. Yeah, so if you're that way inclined and you feel like you want to have your voices heard against the board, the protest, I think, starts at around, midday, I think it was. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think it's midday. What time's kickoff? 2 o'clock?
2, I think, yeah.
Yeah, I think the protest is 11 or midday. Check change for Tottenham's Twitter if you do want to head down to there. The meeting place is the crossing of Lordship Lane and the High Road. Emily Damari also
2:15.
2:15 kickoff.
2:15.
Also, Emily Damari is coming back to Tottenham this weekend, so that is going to be a big occasion as well. So big up to her for making her first appearance for a long time. And so I'll be in the ground. Sim will be on the watch along with George, right?
With George, yep.
Yeah.
George on the watch along. Should be a riveting watch.
Riveting. These watch-alongs are so hard to get through now, but look,
Get through is exactly what we've got to do.
All eyes to BILBAO now. All eyes to BILBAO. But that is it from us today. Thank you all for sticking with us. And we'll see you all on Sunday, people. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always,
Come on, you
come on, you
Spurs.
Spurs.